Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 237. We're almost getting up to 500 uploads, so there'll be a special intro for that. And we got Rob in the sidelines here. I've got him muted at the moment, but I'll just play the intro. Let's see. Who's out there? The stats are going crazy. Said we had 6 before, and now it's down to 3, 2, now 4 again. Susan out there. My mic suddenly changed then. Almost there. Hello. Hello. Good to be back. I'm back again. Hopefully everybody's alright and happy to go. No swearing. Be civil on the side. All the usual stuff. We'll just get Robert back on. Hello. Oh, he's got background playing. Hello. Robert, what are you doing? Good to be back. Hang on, Robert. You got your YouTube playing in the background, mate?
Don't care, mate.
I could hear it playing in the background.
Can you now?
Not now, no.
There we go.
You must have just done it. How's the volume sounding, people? I thought I heard a little crackle then. So what are we doing today, Robert?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit like it's kind of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I wasn't quite sure what to do. And then something kind of forced my hand. Unfortunately, Ted Phillips-UFO trace evidence investigator, he passed away. I think it was on Tuesday evening, congestive heart failure.
Right.
And he was one of the leading authorities on trace evidence. He was really big friends with Alan Hynek all the way up until Hynek's death in 1986, I believe. And yeah, listen, the introduction would be much better coming from what I've found here for him anyway. So he had an engineering background,
right,
and he worked on the Minuteman missiles, repairing them in the field, kind of jobby, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, here's a story. And I hope we got that female reader as well. She sounds a lot more sexy than that. Whatever. Sorry.
That's all right. So we're talking about trace evidence. I believe it's also anniversary of Phoenix Lights, is it? Things ring a bell as well.
Oh dear. Sound is not good, Paul.
Sound is not good. Sound is good so far, it says there. Robert sounds off.
Crackling.
Crackling with Rob. Okay, we'll just go through and just see if we can get rid of it. Might be that he's too loud, though. Sounded alright this end, and on my test, I'll just reset the mixer. And Robert, you might have to drop in and out.
Okay.
Are we back? Robert, you there?
Okay, I'm back, I think, now.
Is he still crackling, people? Oh, you got to talk so they can hear you.
Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Sounds alright this
10,
end.
8, 6, 4, 2. How am I sounding now, guys? Any better?
Okay, sound it says 0. Well, if it's got crackling, he's too loud on his mic, and he might have to turn.
Well, okay, Dalbright said sounds good now.
Alright, so is it something to do with the mixer or Jitsi or something? Some bug. You know, every software's got a little bug in it. It just adds up, you know. Anyway,
yeah, okay. We've got double confirmation now.
That's alright. Okay, we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
So we got a link there, Robert. You haven't posted it yet. Yeah, I think it's Phoenix Light anniversary, isn't it? I thought I heard. Not sure if that's true or not. Where did the Phoenix Lights happen?
Arizona.
Yeah, what year was it and what month?
1997, but I'm not sure of the month. I thought it was September, to be honest.
Okay.
But if you've seen anniversary thing, it might well have been in March. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Let me just check up.
I know it's 97.
Phoenix Lights. I can't even spell Phoenix. Got it round the wrong way, haven't I?
What are you doing?
I was trying to find out the year number.
Yeah, it's 97, but let's find out the month.
Yep, it's coming up. So maybe you can do something on that then. April the 3rd, Phoenix Lights.
Oh, okay, so right, okay.
Tickets for sale. What's tickets? What they got tickets for?
They have a conference there, don't they?
Big festival, Phoenix Lights.
Yeah.
Unless that's a band. Is there a band called Phoenix Lights? Yeah. Is it April?
Phoenix. I think it's a UFO conference.
Phoenix Light Festival.
It's just celebrating the incident. It's like Roswell. I mean, they've made a whole bunch of money out of the incident there, haven't they, over the years, and there's many other places as well.
I think
like Kecksburg as well. They hold a conference
like
every year,
I think it's April. Anyway, next week's one maybe. Anyway, we got a link. Yep. I've probably only had like 3 hours sleep, so bear with me.
Okay. Yeah, this is Ted Phillips. This is a background phone.
Okay. Is it too big of a font? No, it's not too bad. We'll just see if it works.
Hard UFO evidence. The Ted Phillips story.
Okay. Sounds alright, doesn't it? What's that big gap there, though? I'm not sure what it's meant to be there.
That's right.
What's that there? Stay in touch. We don't want that, but...
It has become a bit of a cottage industry to rail against the current state of ufology. The phenomenon seems beset with talking heads, poseurs and outright charlatans. So much so, it occasionally brings even the best of us to the brink of despair. But just when I thought there were no good men left to fight for answers to the UFO conundrum, I met up with Ted Phillips.
So there's only us two left now, is it? Ted Phillips. And they're still getting haters, of course. Especially on BitChute. You got no control on that. That's like a Wild West system, that is.
Whole ufology is the Wild West. Come on, let's face it. There's no rules, there's no regulations. There's no 3 strikes and you're out, is there?
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can be caught with fraud and still reinvent yourself, and there's nothing at all to strike you out. You can still go on selling books. You're not going to be taken to court for fraud because no one can prove you're lying 100%, can they? You know, if you've been set Mars and back.
I think if you're proving that you're fabricating interviews, misleading people, surely that's provable in court, though.
Well, you'd have thought so, but you know, can the powers that be really be bothered with people like that? Because there's so many of them, they just let them go. Hence, it's the Wild West. Well,
they get a lot of tax money of them, you see. So why would they bother?
Yeah, exactly.
Long as they're not getting like thousands of complaints. It's a bit like the Wolf of Wall Street, whatever that guy was called. He was sort of left alone for a while until there was enough complaints about it, and then they started taking it seriously, the FBI. But anyway, that's just probably what would have to happen in UFO field. But there's always going to be idiots supporting other idiots, right? So
the sad thing is, Paul, the charlatans in ufology highly outnumber the serious people that actually try and get to the bottom of this.
Very true.
In science, in science, I guess, like, there's high standards there. If you were fraudulent, you'd soon be caught out. No issues there. You'd be caught out. And I mean, it's easy to trace someone. You know, if you've got a scientist making all these claims, just go to Google Scholar. Here's a little tip for people. Google Scholar, type in his name, see how many papers he's actually produced. And then you've got a good idea of what kind of a person he is and who's he working for. I mean, you've had scientists coming out in the past saying smoking's good for you, and I've got a PhD, for God's sakes.
Yeah,
you know,
they got paid off.
Come on. Yeah, absolutely. And you can see, you can find all that stuff now. It's easy to do research now, but people just don't know how. Google Scholar is a good way to go, though.
Now we'll carry on reading here then.
Ted Phillips is part of a rare breed. He is a UFO investigator, not a writer, not a theorist, a hardcore, old-school investigator. For the past 45 years, he has traversed the United States, doing the arduous work of turning UFO testimony into hard, quantifiable evidence. He sifted through dirt, climbed trees, measured, photographed, and measured again. The fruits of his efforts, some almost totally unknown to modern audiences, are nothing short of startling. Phillips grew up in the great American Midwest, his radio tuned to the likes of Frank Edwards and Long John Nebel. A fascination grew within the man that, in 1964, finally prompted him to take action. He packed up his Chevy and headed southwest for his very first UFO investigation, a trip that put him smack in the middle of the Lonnie Zamora sighting in Socorro, New Mexico. The then 22-year-old Phillips was one of the first serious researchers to talk with Zamora and the numerous other people who witnessed the now classic egg-shaped UFO. Phillips retains what must be considered the definitive collection of analysis and evidence from that case, one he still considers among the most compelling of all time.
Okay.
Well, Hynek encouraged him, do something that nobody else can do.
Yeah.
Learn something that nobody else has bothered learning. And that's what he done. And he covered over 4,000 UFO cases, traversed the whole of the United States, and a lot of the cases that he went to were in numerous different countries, you know? And a lot of it was out of his own pocket.
So you reckon it was with Hynek there? Hynek must have been fairly old then.
No, he think he had a 20-year plus relationship with Hynek, you know.
Oh, here we go. No, I was trying to find a picture.
That's Bali and Hynek, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to find a picture of them both together. Oh, we know that guy.
William.
Oh, right, is that Ted Phillips here? Here we go.
Yeah, that's Ted Phillips. That's a young Ted Phillips,
yeah. He's got the hair still back then as well. He's got the Dumber and Dumber haircut like I had back in those days. But anyway, better carry on. Yeah, I think that big gap at the top there is where his photograph was meant to be or something. Anyway, Socorro. The font is a bit big, but there's things a lot there. That's because it's bigger font, you see.
While in Socorro, Phillips crossed paths with an astronomer from Northwestern University who was investigating UFOs for the U.S. Air Force. That man, of course, was Dr. J. Allen Hynek. This meeting proved to be the start of a professional relationship and close friendship that would last until Hynek's death in 1986.
Let's bring up the picture again.
In the years that followed, Phillips honed his skills as a painstaking investigator. My approach is the same one you now see on television shows like See, he told Department 47. You must always handle a UFO scene with care, as though it were a crime scene. He would need all of those skills in 1966, when he examined a harrowing close encounter at Roaring River State Park in Missouri. 3 hunters observed a daylight object in the park and, upon returning to their campsite, found all of their camping equipment incinerated. Whatever caused the fire was hot enough to melt aluminum tent poles, but selective enough not to ignite the dry trees overhead. As the hunters surveyed the damage, they heard a humming noise. To their amazement, a bizarre disc-shaped object came into view a mere 300 feet away. As the men watched, a tree near the object burst into flame. The UFO finally made a quick exit, but not before one of the hunters snapped 2 photographs.
What case was that again?
Yeah, well, this is it, Paul. You're flicking through images and making me dizzy here because I've got to see that screen. I think people know what the guys look like now. Do you know what I mean? You know, so let's just focus on the text, yeah?
What case were the twin about setting on trees on fire? Socorro, was it? So,
No, that wasn't Socorro. I don't know where you've gone now. You've lost me. But we'll go on to individual cases after we've done this little profile.
Phillips called in his friend Dr. Hynek to help interview the witnesses and analyze the Roaring River evidence. Despite their combined efforts, no prosaic explanation for the event has ever been determined. Afterwards, Dr. Hynek admitted to me that the UFO phenomenon was bigger than he thought and that people were needed who were willing to specialize, Phillips explained. It was he who encouraged me to focus on physical trace cases. Phillips took that advice to heart and, over the years, he's been directly or indirectly involved with over 3,000 UFO incidents that produced physical trace evidence. He has personally investigated hundreds of these, including the famous 1971 Delphos, Kansas incident and a 1979 case in which a UFO collided with a Minnesota sheriff's patrol car. All that careful analysis and attention to detail has paid dividends. patterns and connections emerged in the evidence Phillips collected. For example, he learned from repeated compression tests on various landing marks that these alleged vehicles weighed from 7 to 14 tons. Similar tests of footprints found at UFO sites indicated that the entities who made them weighed about 60 pounds. All of this pointed to physical creatures with nuts and bolts technology, a hypothesis that, even in 2008, still strikes Phillips as the most logical answer.
Yeah, nuts and bolts technology is just a term, Paul. Yeah, if there's weight on the ground, there's depression on the ground, obviously something has been there.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that they talked about aliens having nuts, that's all.
And bolts, careful what you say now.
The 1970s proved to be a hectic decade with so many cases that the tireless Phillips barely kept up. However, his investigations came to an abrupt halt with Dr. Hynek's death in 1986. "It just wasn't any fun without my friend," he recalled. Phillips' self-imposed retirement continued until 1998, when he had a conversation with another icon of ufology, Jacques Vallée. Vallée had known Phillips for years, since he had included him as a member of the Invisible College, a blue ribbon panel of UFO researchers. Vallée expressed concerns about the direction of ufology and ultimately convinced Phillips to resume his important work. So, that year, Ted Phillips founded the Center for Physical Trace Research, www.ufophysical.com. To his profound surprise, however, he discovered that, during his years of retirement, the phenomenon had undergone a radical change. Sometime during the late 1980s, the number of incidents involving large flying objects dropped considerably. Phillips states. At the same time, reports involving very small UFOs increased dramatically. Phillips also noticed that these miniature UFOs tended to appear repeatedly in a given area. This was a new facet of the phenomenon, one that may yet yield long-awaited answers. He knew only so much can be done with isolated, one-time UFO encounters. However, if an area of recurring activity could be identified, scientific methods and instruments might be brought to bear to measure and analyze the objects as never before. To respond to this new opportunity, Phillips formed a Special Investigations Unit (SEU) within the CPTR. This small group of dedicated researchers functions like the Navy SEALs in that they are inserted into UFO hotspots armed with electronic and imaging equipment. In recent months, the SEU has been actively involved with an ongoing investigation of a place that goes by the pseudonym of Marley Woods. Marley Woods has been visited on numerous occasions over the years by small, inexplicable lights. The lights vary in size, color, behavior, and performance characteristics. More often than not, however, they appear to be the size of a beach ball. The objects have been seen by multiple, independent witnesses at close range. They have exhibited electromagnetic effects well known to most students of the phenomenon, including interfering with cognitions, video cameras, and even cell phones. On several occasions in 2007, the SEU spent time in the Marley Woods. They are hoping to conduct additional research at the site later this year. Members of the SEU team include Tom Ferrario, Adam Johnson, Debbie Ziegelmeyer, and Chuck Zukowski. Ferrario and Ziegelmeyer are both certified divers, a skill that will be put to the test during the team's next visit. Phillips explains that anomalous objects have, on more than one occasion, been seen to enter large farm ponds in the vicinity. The SEU divers will search those ponds to see if traces of the object's activity can be found.
Okay, have you finished on that one?
I had my mic muted. What do you mean you don't want to read the rest of it?
No. I don't know where we are. Paul, I've got crackling.
What do you mean got crackling? You sound all right here. Is he crackling again, guys?
Yeah, it's okay. I can put up with it. It's not too bad.
Phillips admits he's particularly intrigued by this component of the case. He cites a recent Michigan encounter where a small UFO purportedly bounced off the top of a woman's car. That object left a strange, yellow residue, which the witness had the foresight to preserve. The substance was then subjected to chemical and bacteriological analysis indicating that, strangely enough, this object may also have spent time in a farm pond. Funding for such projects is always scarce, but the group is working to bankroll the purchase of new, more sophisticated imaging equipment. They also look to add an electromagnetic field generator to their arsenal, one that just might attract one of the Marley Woods objects. Phillips is somewhat philosophical about the funding challenges faced by his organization. After all, Dr. Hynek only managed one $4,000 grant during his entire career, he mused. To that end, the center is accepting monetary donations on its website. Just this month, the group began marketing a DVD of its first investigation at Marley Woods, the proceeds of which will go toward future expeditions. You'd think that, after 45 years, Ted Phillips might want to slow down a bit. However, one conversation with this man reveals an energy and enthusiasm equal to that of his much younger colleagues. The veteran investigator says he's holding leads on 3 new sites, much like Marley Woods, that are just begging to be investigated. Somehow, I can't help but think Ted Phillips is still the man to get the job done.
Yeah, he's a sad loss to ufology because he ain't no Tyler, this guy.
No.
He ran around everywhere, all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
him and his colleagues,
How do you fund that, do you know?
investigating this stuff when nobody else was doing it.
Who funded them to go around the world, though?
Who funded him?
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm.
He went into a lot of his own pocket, mate, because Kufos, Center for UFO Studies, which is Hynek's, didn't have a lot of money, I can tell you that now. It was running on fumes.
How did Hynek get his money then? Donations?
A few donations, yeah, but it was nowhere near enough that it was nowhere near enough to make it into a MUFON, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, Hynek had his faults as well. You know, there was one particular conference where was of his design, and he only invited people with a science background. Now that upset an awful lot of people, you know, especially the Lebronzens from APRO, I believe, and a lot of other UFO people. You know, it's like saying Earl Grey can't go to the conference because he didn't have a sufficient science background. But a lot of these people were hardworking, but what Hynek tried to do was make ufology as scientific as possible, but maybe went a little bit too far. It was all data-based and analysis-based with Hynek, a typical scientist.
Right.
But you can understand the sentiment there, can't you? In a way, and you can understand that's his background. And that's where he's come from.
Yeah, when I ever mute my mic, it seems to half my volume on the headset for some reason. Am I back to normal now? I should be looking at the indicators.
Yeah, you sound fine to me.
Yeah, who was it? Who posted? Susan said my volume halved. This is the maximum volume I can get on this headset. I will look into it, see if I can add some extra software to control it better. It's got this auto control thing on it for some reason. It's kind of weird. So I followed through all the steps to disable it, but it hasn't worked. So there's something else people are missing on Windows 10. So we got another link to go there, Robert.
Yeah, sure. We're going to go to Delphos case. You're not going to like it.
Is this the one from Kansas?
It is.
Which we've covered before, but we'll recap it anyway. So yeah.
No, you've covered it before. I don't think I was on.
I think you were, but
okay.
I don't know.
Well,
I've put the link in the description anyway. If you want to know, I covered it about.
Oh, okay. At this point, Paul, yeah, it doesn't matter if we agree or disagree. It's up to the listener. That's the most important person. The viewer, the listener. That's the most important person. So let them make their own mind up, okay? We can argue the points and we can agree to disagree. Yeah?
I think you actually agreed. I think you actually agreed on my debunk this time.
I'm not sure. Are you talking about pixie rings? Because it most certainly was not that.
Fungus, I should say.
Yeah, which is a pixie ring. That it may. Okay. All right. Let's have a look at the case. Yeah.
And fertilizer that had rocket fuel in it. Anyway. Okay. But I have covered it. And of course, we'll just go over it anyway. But I wasn't 100% debunked on it though. I'd say I was 80-20. 80-20 that it was a hoax is what I figured out. So yeah, there's a small slim chance that that it was actually a UFO. I didn't rule it out completely. So yeah.
Okay.
This was
I don't recall that.
This was on a show called Contact 2019. I was talking about they went there to interview the guy after, and there was something about how the guy was being interviewed that didn't add up to his past comments as well. I think it was. It's a few months ago now. Was it not selected? Yeah. Just read out the header.
1971. The Delphos, Kansas UFO landing ring.
That's so good. Oh. Let's missed out the end sentence. Come on. Oh, that'll do. Down to there.
A very credible UFO encounter occurred in the small town of Delphos, Kansas in 1971. This case has never been debunked, and is still considered as one of the very best physical trace cases involving a UFO landing. 16-year-old Ron Johnson, along with his dog Snowball, was tending the family sheep when his attention was suddenly drawn to a mushroom-shaped UFO appearing in the night sky. The flying object, metallic with multicolored lights, was hovering approximately 75 feet away from Ron among some trees. Johnson estimated the craft was only a few feet above the ground. He estimated the craft's diameter at 6-8 feet. Stunned by what he was looking at, he tried to get a closer look, but the brilliant luminance of the craft did not allow him to make out any additional details. Ron described the craft as making a loud sound, like an old washing machine which vibrates. The glow of the object's bottom increased as it began to rise up into the sky. Ron would later state that he was temporarily blinded by the brightness of the craft as it ascended. After he regained his sight and composure, he ran back to the family house to alert his mother and father, Irma and Ural. The bright, glowing object was now even higher in the sky.
Okay, so, at this point, before you read that out, Paul, please. At this point now, we've got like 3 witnesses. Okay? And then you've also got the circle, the area of depression, soil that's turned hydrophobic, as in it doesn't take any water anymore, nothing grew there for years.
Yep.
Yeah. Not exactly fungi at this point, is it? I don't think. Anyway, you can't hear.
We won't get into a fight anyway.
No. I'm just stating the facts.
Ron's parents came running around the side of the house to get a glimpse of the unusual phenomena. They arrived just in time to see the object, now big as the full moon, as it disappeared from view. The three Johnsons were shocked to see a glowing ring on the ground, right below where the craft had hovered. There was also a glowing material on some of the trees nearby. Family members would agree that the ground around the glow felt strange, like a slick crust, as if the soil was crystallized. Ron's mother's fingers went numb, like she had been given a local anesthetic. After they were sure the craft was not returning, the family settled down for the night. When dawn broke the next day, the family immediately returned to the site of the glowing ring, and to their surprise, it was still there. The inside and outside of the ring was damp from a rain shower, but the exterior of the ring was amazingly dry. The ring had a crusty appearance, as though the rain had simply ran off, leaving it bone dry. Slightly over a month later, after a snowfall, the white ice had melted both inside and outside of the ring, but the ring itself maintained the snowdrift. Investigators experimented with the ring by removing snow from a section of it and pouring water on the exposed part. The soil would not allow the water to pass through.
I mean, that is quite conclusive to me that something anomalous happened. I guess you don't agree then, Paul?
I'm not going to start any fights at the moment, but we'll go over. I play my clip from my debunking to see what I said.
It ain't no pixie ring. I can tell you this now for a fact, because Hynek, of course, being a scientist, he knew a lot of other scientists. He had 5 independent people look at the soil samples that were taken from the incident, from the scene, and they all said the same thing, that something anomalous occurred and had absolutely nothing to do with pixie rings. Now, I don't think half a dozen PhDs were going to make this mistake of, mistaking fungi for something anomalous. That's all I'm saying.
Depends. Like they said, they may be influenced to believe the case to be true, right?
Well, absolutely not. Hynek wasn't that way inclined.
But I think I went over Hynek's statement, and
he was highly skeptical.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll carry on.
Yeah.
The Johnsons told their story to the local newspaper, the Delphos Republican. Reporter Thaddeus Smith, along with several members of her family, drove back out with the Johnsons to see the site of the UFO landing and the strange ring. Smith's report was as follows. The circle was still very distinct and plain to see. The soil was dried and crusted. The circle or ring was approximately 8 feet across. The center of the ring and the outside area were still muddy from recent rains. The area of the ring that was dried was about a foot across and was very light in color. The object had crushed a dead tree to the ground either when it landed or took off, and from appearance had broken a limb of a live tree when it landed. The broken limb was most unusual. It would snap and break as though it had been dead for quite some time, yet it was green under the bark, and the upper area still had green leaves clinging to its branches. However, the lower area looked as though it had been blistered and had a whitish cast. Later the same day, Sheriff Inlow, Under Sheriff Harlan Inlow, and Kansas State Highway Patrolman Kenneth Yeager investigated the ring after being alerted to the facts of the case by Thaddeus Smith. Harlan Inlow filed this report. We observed a ring shaped somewhat like a donut with a hole in the middle. The ring was completely dry with a hole in the middle and outside of the ring mud. There were limbs broken from a tree and a dead tree broken off there. There was a slight discoloration on the trees.
Okay then.
I think there's
So,
a picture of.
yeah, all right. So, okay, how does a couple of mushrooms, fungi, jump up and bring branches down? No, something's either come down or it's come up and it's broken them.
Or it's been hoaxed.
Oh, it's been hoaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So a few simple farmers going to put chemicals on the ground, make a perfect circle,
No.
jump up, and that they must be pharmaceutical.
Well, as you know, most kids,
scientists.
no, most kids on the farm, they had to drive a tractor. They could easily throw a cable over the limb and get the tractor.
Okay.
It looked like they're saying it pushed over a tree. It could quite easily be done with a tractor. So there are explanations for it, but we'll go over it again.
Yeah. The only thing is, for all that effort, Paul, did any of them make any money out of it? I've looked into it, no, they never. It's a whole lot of effort.
A lot of people don't do stuff. They do it like a prank to see how far it goes, and then it goes too far, and they don't come out clean about it because they think they're going to get in trouble. Or even nowadays, you know, years later.
Okay, yeah, but what about the two parents that came out and actually seen the UFO?
I don't think they saw it from what I read.
Yes, they did.
No, the kid ran inside, I think, to say they saw a UFO.
They'd seen it, but it was up in the air at the time.
I don't, from what I read anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Not from what I read, as far as I can recall, anyway. But anyway, we'll just carry on.
Further experimentation showed the ground under the ring to be dry to a depth of 1 foot. The ring itself was composed of a whitish substance, which was sent to a laboratory for analysis. The findings were as follows. It was resolved into fibers which was vegetal in nature and belonged to an organism of the order of actinomycetes, which is an intermediate organism between bacteria and fungus. Family Actinomycete, genus Nocardia, and is often found together with a fungus of the order Basidiomycetes, which may flower as under certain conditions. One possible interpretation is that high-energy stimulation triggered the spectacular growth of the Nocardia and of an existing fungus, and caused the latter to flower as. There would also be another witness to corroborate Ron Johnson's account of the UFO. Sheriff Inlow told the press, on November 3, 1971, Mr. Lester Ensbarger of 416 Argyle Street in Minneapolis advised Deputy Sheriff Leonard Simpson that at approx. 7:30 p.m. November 2, 1971, he had observed a bright light descending in the sky in the Delphos area. The experience of Ron Johnson is still considered as one of the best documented ground trace UFO cases of the past century, and is still unexplainable by any conventional or earthly means.
Sure. Okay. Do you think the heat had heated the ground to near rock?
Yeah, it's not just that, Charles. It's the depression that was made in the ground that it appears something compressed the soil, and by the compression of the soil, they could work out the weight that was on it. You know.
Yeah. I know there's been lots of explanations for it.
Well, there will always be all kinds of...
I think there was... It used to be like a pig pen there, and... or sheep pen, and the sheep used to run around in circles, so they tend to do that when they're enclosed. There was all sorts of theories out there. We got to the end of it anyway. So I did actually debunk it.
Case. Well, okay, we can agree to disagree on that one anyway.
Yeah, notice they talked about fungi there, so definitely fungi was in the soil.
As it generally is anyway.
See, my theory, my suspicion, I should say, is the son, maybe with some help with another person, maybe, or maybe he did it on his own. Because there wasn't...
A 16-year-old kid doing a hell of a job.
Yeah. So basically, you got hold of some fertilizer, which the trace evidence suggested it had rocket fuel in it. Now, it turns out this trace evidence is actually used in fertilizer, which is quite common in farms. So it sort of straight away put that out as an explanation. So I think what he did is he got hold of some fertilizer and mixed it in with some of that glow in the darks sort of water paint you can get back then. I kind of remember there was like a fluorescent stuff that you can get that sort of glowed in the dark. But it probably mixed it with that and then went around and sprayed it on that ground where he knew there used to be a fungus ring left behind because they were quite common around trees, and that was right near a tree.
Well,
and
okay, I mean, it's possible, but it sounds highly unlikely to me.
Yeah, but the chemicals and the fertilizers is what's caused this unique signature they're talking about, where it seemed to create a growth in the organisms. So I think there's something they didn't actually consider back then. Was it fertilizer? So I did actually do my own out of the box thinking.
I don't know. I'm just going to recap on that one now, Paul. Yeah. Hynek went to 5 scientists that were specialized in that area. All 5 of them independently came out with the same opinion that it was something anomalous and they couldn't explain it.
So it wasn't too long ago. It was 182. I did.
I don't think Hynek could have been. It would have had to be one hell of a 1970s, wasn't it? Let's have a look. 1971. That was. Yeah, it could have been done. It's possible. It could have been an elaborate hoax, but my God, it was a good one if it was.
Well, let's just skim over what I did. It's not fresh in my mind.
Well, Paul, just give a link to it, and people can look at your explanation and look at this one and make their own mind up, and that's what we're about.
So I actually looked for scientific or new findings since that time on the soil. So I went into quite depth on it. So I think it was about there. I'm just trying to find if that's where it was. Maybe a bit out. Now this is where we need those bookmarks from Susan, so she's still working through them all. I think I may have been debunking UFO Man before that. Is it here? I thought I had it bookmarked last night. Maybe I stuffed up the bookmark. I just got to find the picture.
Well, I mean, I agree entirely. You have to look for the.
Oh, here it is.
The moment you have to look for the mundane before you look at the exotic.
So this was in Kansas. So
yeah, Delphos, Kansas. Yeah.
I think it was a farming location.
Look at this one here. It looks like a circle.
Alright, so it's just after here. Here we go. So it looks like I've got the wrong timestamp on it. It's still a good episode to go and re-watch again though.
He only occurred in soils with less than 10% clay and was most severe for soils with less than 5.
So that was about where I started looking.
And then they go, oh look, it's repelling water. It's got to be aliens. Instead of just doing some proper research and actually seeing that it's no mystery at all. Courses of water repellents. So this article here tells you everything you need to know. And I'll just get it to read out, I think, instead of me trying to blunder my way through it, because I've got a bit of a blurry eye here. I'll just make sure
that's the case, isn't it?
Causes.
Except for the speakers going the wrong way.
No, we're always having problems,
Okay.
aren't we? Oh, that was before we fixed that problem. But
So
yeah,
they got this hilarious show because they're meant to have the state-of-the-art search algorithm that can do connections. You'd think it would come up and tell them that it's not a alien or magnetic field that's causing the water repellents, but something obvious, natural, and their FBI search tool can't help them, or CI search tool. No wonder terrorists can get away with stuff if it's that stupid.
Causes of water repellent. Native vegetation creates waxy, water repellent residues, so newly cleared agricultural land and native landscapes will be more susceptible to non-wetting. # in arable farming systems, pasture and grain legumes such as clover, medic, lucerne, and lupins which contain higher amounts of plant waxes form water repellent compounds. Cereals do not form water repellent residues, so it's worth breaking a long pasture phase on susceptible soils to prevent build-up of hydrophobic material. Fungi can also produce water repellent residues, particularly under perennial pastures such as lucerne. As waxy substances in plants are not effectively broken down by their passage through the sheep, Blackwell 1996, sheep camps tend to be more water repellent because of the accumulation of organic matter.
Okay, so the key one there was the fungi.
So yeah, so I went through the whole science of it all.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's possible.
And also I looked at other viruses or microbes, I should say, that live in the soil. And tried to find some pictures that
you know,
looked...
when you put it together, with you could make an excuse of how radar can pull up false targets, but when you got a witness on the ground, seeing what's in the air, and the radar's picking up at the same time, then the evidence becomes kind of overwhelming. If it was taken into a court of law, of course.
Yeah, so this is where it was on the show, and I went back to interview the kid, I think it is.
So you can have a look at the image from the TV show. Where's the thing?
Well, there's the image of how the UFO got in there. So I did go on quite a fair time on it, I think. At least 20 minutes, at least.
Okay. I just need 2 seconds, Paul.
Righto. So here, you can see, I wonder where the link is to that. I would have posted it on the side, wouldn't I?
Alright, so there's another bit to the science here too.
Maybe I didn't
apparently,
post to Twitter.
in the early days they did a test of the soil and found it had how do you say that one? Oxalic acid, which is used in explosive, fertilizer, and rocket fuel, believe it or not. So the UFO scientists said, haha, there's proof that it's actually from outer space, but in fact the fertilizer is the main thing we're looking at here. It's a farm. They probably poured some of this acidic fertilizer to try and get stuff to grow there by digging it in. So that's why when you look at his photograph up the top here, it looks less bad in the second photograph. But they still haven't fixed the problem. They probably would have best to dig up all the soil around there and dump it, and then just get some fresh soil. Probably what they should have done. So where's the link to the thing? Is that the one there? Oh, no.
So I go on about how the UFO managed to get crash into that tree. You know, why would it crash into a tree and then hover where the fairy ring was, or fungi ring, I would probably call it. But yeah, you're going to have to probably go and watch that seriously, I think.
I'm sure I'll post the link here. Oh, here we go. Open Minds. Here we go. I think it might be on that.
I wonder if I can find the link to it.
Got it.
On Twitter, so we got all the links there for my scientific breakdown for it. You can see Rob believes it line and sinker, but me, a wee bit more skeptical about it because there is some real science to water in the soil. It's pretty common actually. Depends on the soil makeup, what silicas are in it. So let's have a look. I might be able to find it here. Do a search on Twitter again and post link. So we want how do we spell it? Maybe contact 2019. It might show it up. Why is the 2 not coming up? Oh, it is now.
What are you looking for, Paul?
I'm trying to find all my links to that particular article on Twitter so I can
Oh,
repost
come on.
it.
We're not doing that now. Let's move on with what we're doing now. Yeah.
Let me just finish what I'm doing here.
Okay.
And is that the one? No. I did post a lot about the show. Pretty much every episode I talked about it. Oh, here we go. Is that the one with all the links? Can't see all the links that I had on that other. Maybe I just post a little search link to this so you can just click on it. But it's here somewhere. Well, it should be because we can see it on the screen there. Oh, here we go. It's got 19 links on that one. Landon, here we go, right wing. So that's all my links on this show here. So there's one that looks very similar with the right width on a lawn.
Mm-hmm.
The UFO coming.
Yeah, you see there that at the centre, yeah, the grass is still growing fine. Generally move like a genuine UFO landing. But nothing grows for like 2 years in the whole circle, and you also have depression in the ground.
You're crackling again, I think.
Yeah, you've been crackling as well. Do you want me to drop in and out?
Oh, you're really bad.
Okay, I think it's on your side, you know.
I don't think so.
I'll drop in and out, okay?
It's your ghost that you got living with you. You might have to unplug it and plug it in again. I'm not crackling now, am I, guys? It sounds alright on my end. It's only when he connects back in it crackles. Are you there?
Mm-hmm.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you're going to say, so we can hear you.
Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. How's it sounding now?
Sounds alright now. Okay, from what I can hear at my end.
I can still hear a little bit of crackling on your voice.
Really?
When you speak. Yeah, doesn't matter.
How about the guys on the side? Are you hearing any crackling on my voice? Are we still going? Yeah, it still reckons it's streaming. So yeah, the UFO apparently come in and knocked over this tree, right? So it had to get between those 2 trees and hover. Which is strange, why a UFO would... They're saying it had to break it down to get back out, but somehow it doesn't sort of add up to me. How would the UFO suddenly appear in a close proximity to 2 trees where it was trapped in and it had to break a tree to get out? You know,
because maybe they're jumping. Maybe they're jumping.
Oh, you're saying it's a jumping wormholes straight into space. It's a funny shaped UFO as well, which is kind of strange. But I'm pretty sure I cover at the end talking about Hynek and the witnesses, how it happened on another website, and I don't think they saw anything, the parents. So maybe someone out there can remember what I said in the episode there, but I can't remember now. I'd have to re-watch it all myself. That's what's good about having episodes, because you can always go back and re-watch what you said. But there was a thing where they said they did it for a newspaper. The kid did it for a newspaper for that $5,000 reward, which would have been like a year's salary for a farmer that was struggling back then.
Yeah, Paul.
But
Look, mate,
hang on, let me finish. Let me finish.
One hoax, the 4,000 cases.
Hang on, let me finish. But it turns out that they did it even before that offer was even advertised in the paper, so it couldn't have been faked for that $5,000 in the newspaper. So that can be ruled out now. But doesn't mean that he didn't fake it though. It may not have been just for money. It may have been for attention seeking. But and because the lie got so big, it's a bit hard to say to his parents, "Yeah, I lied all that time." If they're still alive, I can't remember. I think the father was still alive.
One case. It's still just one case, isn't it? If it's a hoaxer, it's one case.
Mm.
Out of 4,000 cases, you don't get 4,000 hoaxers.
I think I did talk about Hynek at the end here. Let's have a look, and then we'll move on. But yeah, everybody's got to go back and watch it again. I think here.
Good morning. What is the time? 11:45 here at the moment. Time is flying, isn't it?
Maybe I just read it out.
2 hours gone already. So
let's skip on.
Something's not feeling right about this case right away.
So there's another.
No wonder the guy doesn't want to talk about it. He was a kid at the time.
You can see there's quite a lot of reading on that particular page about it.
Yeah, Paul, any chance we can move on,
Yeah, there is a chance.
He found the dead tree that had fallen over and observed that it could have been knocked over during the departure or arrival of an object. He discussed with Sheriff Enlow the possibility that the tree could have been pulled over by vandals, but they both agreed that they would have found evidence of this, such as chain marks on the tree. He also noted the broken branches, which were consistent with Ronnie's report. If there was an object at the location reported by Ronnie, the object could not have taken off straight up, because there were branches over the area that were not broken. There were trees to the north and east of the site, which further confirmed that the entrance and departure could only have been the way Ronnie described. During his second visit to Delphos, Phillips discussed the case further with Sheriff Enlow. The sheriff said that he didn't believe the event was a hoax. He went so far as to write Phillips a written statement that in part said, in reference to the UFO sighting at the Johnson residence near Delphos, Kansas on November 2, 1971. The Johnsons are lifetime residents of Ottawa County and the Delphos community. They are
so there's a bit there where it talks about their statements anyway. So you have to go back and listen to the whole thing. But they're talking about how the tree could have been pulled over, but they didn't see any chain marks. Well, as you know, you can actually wrap it with one of those, like a sling, which spreads the pull-in load, so it doesn't actually mark the tree. So you could just put a sack behind the cable wrapped around the tree.
Jesus, what do you think all these people are? These farmers are like Houdini. Do you know what I mean? These guys are faking everything. Jesus, man, get a life. Come on, some of these things happened. 4,000 trace evidence cases that Ted Phillips alone investigated. God knows how many unknown cases there were. God knows that. Probably 20 times more, maybe 50 times more that weren't investigated.
Was any of them...
Please let me finish. You've played your channel enough now. Good God, you talk about people promoting their channels, and you're doing a good job as well.
What are you talking
at the
about?
moment, by the way. Yeah? Now, come on. Yeah? Something is going on here, and we need to have a look at what is going on, because it's not everybody hoaxing, Paul.
I think they did. I think the kid did.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. I think I'm on the wrong channel.
The kid hoaxed it, I think. It was like 80 to 20.
What are you looking at now?
I'm just having a look at the side comments. So, did you post a link for the next one to read? Or you just...
Yeah, I did. But you've been on a tangent, as usual.
So where's the link?
Well, it's probably
So you're
well
really
up there now,
you're
somewhere, isn't it?
bitching at me.
I'm not bitching at you, but yeah, I am, because you're not making any sense.
Yes, I am. It's you that's not making any sense. So you're not letting me have my say.
What?
You keep interfering what I'm trying to say before I've had a chance to finish what I'm saying. I can't see any link there, Robert.
Paul, when you start something, you don't finish, so I don't get a word in anyway, so
This
I have
one
to
here.
jump in.
Val Johnson. Here we go. I might have it now.
Yes.
Oh, you're hard work, man.
Now, believe it or not, Paul, I'm actually a little bit skeptical about this one. But we have to look at it because it's a famous case.
You almost swore then, didn't you? I almost had to put the rhino on you.
Yeah, well, it's only a virtual one.
Yeah, that's still, yeah. Is it still working?
And
I still think you need a
Washington
rhino on top of you there.
You're such a dick.
It's there now, anyway.
Okay.
We need some more emanations. Think up some for Robert, guys. Anyway, we can shut him up. Let's put a rhino on his head. But anyway, what do we got here? Set. One of the few blogs.
Yeah, you'll have to go down to the main text, please.
Yeah. Okay, I might have to scale down the font a wee bit, huh? Oh, lost that side ads. That's the problem with these sites. Oh god, look at that. Yeah, let's see if I can sort this one out. Might have to reduce the font. We've got all this crap down the bottom. Yeah, this one I was a bit skeptical of as well, but I don't think I've ever covered it, so...
Okay.
Let's see if that reads out at least.
UFO blog search for. Search published on February 6, 2018 categories. UFO sightings Val Johnson incident more than just UFO sighting.
Okay, so it's got a problem with selecting text on this page. I think we're going to use the nuke on it. Get rid of that crap on the side. What else we got? That one there. There we go, looks looking better already. Can we get rid of that as well? Yeah, look at that. I just love that tool. How to get rid of all the crap on someone's website. Now we can get somewhere with it. Okay. Let's just try this. It's got pictures in between text, so that makes it a bit more complicated. You can see here with the scrolling, it just won't behave. Got it.
Search published on February 6, 2018 categories. UFO sightings Val Johnson incident more than just UFO sighting. This post was last updated on January 12, 2020 at 6:47 p.m. This is a great detailed read on the Val Johnson incident. We might never know the truth, but there are a handful of possibilities, including aliens. What do you think it was? Val Johnson's damaged patrol car image credit. Unknown image is found all over the web in varying locations with no attribution. Table of contents I'm
not sure what I was reading out there. It's a bit messy, so...
In 1979, Deputy Sheriff Val Johnson of Marshall County, Minnesota had a UFO encounter. He claims a ball of light hit his patrol car causing injuries, damage to the vehicle, and left him unconscious for 39 minutes. So what actually happened? Val Johnson lived in a UFO hotbed during the 1970s. Minnesota had a tremendous amount of UFO activity. Val Johnson's sighting wasn't unique to the area, though it ended up being one of the most infamous. Val Johnson standing at the spot where he claimed to have his encounter image credit. Stormy Greener Star Tribune 1979 UFO encounter. Johnson was a night patrol deputy at the time. His encounter occurred on August 26, 1979 on State Highway 20. It was in the early morning hours around 2 a.m. The sheriff's deputy was driving his vehicle when he saw a ball of light ahead of him on the road. The light moved towards his vehicle, apparently hitting the windshield and knocking him unconscious. The white light engulfed the vehicle. I heard the sound of breaking glass, and that's all I remember for about 39 minutes. Val Johnson in a 1979 interview.
Something's got locked up here. Yeah.
There's the problem with this case is the missing time thing.
Alright. Oh. I was just trying to get rid of that banner thing. It's giving us a bit of a problem. Okay, so where did we get down? Injuries, testimony. So what really happened? Physical evidence.
I wish track of what you're reading out, Paul. If you just stay on the text, it won't happen. If you're looking for pictures in between when it's reading out,
no, I'm trying to clean up this page so it's easier to select injuries.
I mean, it's meant to give people fits.
Just bear with me, mate. Not everything's plain sailing. Okay, I think.
No, I know. I understand from your side, yeah.
It's a terrible website.
Physical evidence. In addition to the UFO sighting, there was also physical evidence left behind. Val Johnson's damaged patrol car image credit, unknown. Image is found all over the web in varying locations with no attribution. Johnson's patrol car sustained damage to the windshield and a headlight. Both of the vehicle's radio antennas were bent and one of the red emergency lights on the roof was damaged. When help arrived at the scene, Val Johnson's patrol car was in a roadside ditch. Val was slumped over the wheel. Johnson's watch and the clock in the patrol car were both behind by exactly 14 minutes. Read this. The Lockraven UFO history injuries. Val Johnson's description of his injuries centered around his eyes. He described the pain as being like a welder's burn. He'd worked as a welder in his past, so this was the closest thing he could compare to. Dental records also indicated that his dental bridge had been broken at the gum line. Testimony. The incident was investigated as an accident, but the police were never able to come to a real conclusion. In 1979, Val Johnson gave a radio interview about his experience. You can listen below. Interestingly enough, this case doesn't have the typical government military smell to it. There were no reports of hush visits by men in black or military presence. For believers, the Val Johnson incident is another nail in the coffin of proof for alien visitation. But Val Johnson himself doesn't seem to push the issue. He maintains that it was an unknown object, but rarely goes further to speculate what it actually was. So what really happened? There's no question that something collided with Val Johnson's patrol car in 1979. There are plenty of questions, though, as to what it was. While they would be common on a late-night ride down a rural highway, animal strikes leave behind obvious clues which were absent. An alien-controlled UFO?
Do we want to listen to his interview?
I think we should listen to a little, just to see how he comes over to us, and let's see his genuinity, if he has any. I think it'd be a good idea to listen just a sample of it, at least.
It's not clicking for me. Let me just reload the page. Looks like it's banned or something. I don't know. Where's it disappeared to? Oh, there it is. It's working now.
The white light engulfed the vehicle. I heard the sound of breaking glass, and that's all I remember for about 39 minutes. I woke up. I was sitting sideways in the road. I called for assistance at 2:19 a.m. and stated that I was unsure of what exactly had happened, but I needed assistance, and I gave my location.
That was 40 minutes after you first spotted the light?
Yes, about 39, 40 minutes after I'd spotted the light.
Once you radioed for assistance, what did you notice with your car?
Well, the car was sideways in the road, upright. I opened my one eye. My eyes were very painful at that time. I opened one eye and I noticed that the red rectangular engine light was lighted, which would denote that the engine had quit, but the key was still in the operating position. And that's all that I can recall seeing at that time. Officer Winskowski from Stephen responded to my assistance, and he found me. I was leaning up against the steering wheel, and he called for an ambulance, and I was subsequently transported to the Warren ambulance by the Stephen Ambulance Service. The sheriff and the senior deputy responded to my location and noticed that a headlight was broken from the driver's side of the vehicle. Also, there was a dent about the size of a dime in the hood just in front of where the driver would sit. My windshield was broken in a pattern directly in front of where I was sitting as driver, and brakes radiated either way from that. Also, a red hazard light on top of my vehicle on the light bar directly over my head. The lens in that was cracked, and both antennas, spring-loaded whip antennas that are on my vehicle, were bent. My wristwatch, which is mechanical in design, and the electric clock in the dash of my vehicle. Upon further investigation, it was noted that both of these timepieces were 14 minutes behind standard time.
Okay, where's this antenna on this car? There was a funny shaped beam too, wasn't it? If I remember right.
Now, obviously, there's been an incident. If you take his seen a UFO, then it came straight towards him, then there was a collision, then he had missing time, blah 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 blah. But okay, he's failed to explain just how much missing time, because he stated there was, I think there was 28 minutes, 29 minutes, something like that. I don't really know. And there was some clocks were stopped, and he seemed to know exactly how much time was missing, blah blah blah. But he failed to explain how he knew that. That's the only worrying thing. But there was an incident, of course. So what did he have to gain from it? I had to look into that, and I found that he had nothing to gain from it. Never made any money out of it.
Well, to cover up something else.
He probably got a bit of attention, that's for sure.
Well, looking at this image here, though, Rob, it looks like an impact of someone that's rolled onto the bonnet and just hit the screen. Now, you've seen those stunts on TV.
But if someone's rolled onto the bonnet, it's going to do damage to the bonnet as well.
Do you think he could have hit someone not paying attention, killed them, and covered it up?
Yes.
There you go. And made up this whole UFO story. And of course, if it's like a homeless drunk person, no one's going to worry about where they disappeared to, right? So he might be just a dirty cop that sort of made up this story and just stuck with it. Has he ever been lie detected? I don't think he has he?
No.
Yeah. So that's the first thing you probably want to do. And of course, if you look at the bent antenna, maybe he got on a bender, right? And maybe picked up some hookers or something, and something went wrong. Maybe he's a serial killer even. You just don't know. So where's this car antenna? I know it was.
There was this kind of stories where there was. It's in a museum now. That car, by the way.
So he's making money from it now.
Somewhere in Minnesota. I'm not really sure where.
Where's the picture of the antenna? It's got to be a close up of the antenna. I know it was a funny shape, which doesn't make any sense. Is it on that one? I can't quite see. Well, that one's not bent. That looks like a normal car there. Obviously, they repaired it since it's not on that picture. Okay, I know I've seen it because I've looked at it before. I think I may have covered this story before a wee bit. It was a wee bit.
Yeah, I don't know, but Dow's made a fair point there.
Right.
he refused a lie detector test, you know?
Did he really? So there you go.
Yeah.
So if you're completely innocent, why not do a lie detector test? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but you could get nervous under one, and
No,
then
or normally
maybe...
come out inconclusive, or you pass it cleanly.
Yeah. Well, generally with a lie detector test, I'm only supposed to ask you,
Oh, here we
a
go.
maximum like 7 questions. Let me finish, Paul. Yeah, you're only supposed to answer like a maximum of 7, 8 questions. Because if it goes on for like 30, 40 questions, then you're obviously going to be under a little bit of stress then, aren't you? So, and you know, if it feels like an interrogation, the first few questions are, what's your name? Well, you know, and then they'll do the measurements, you know, your heart rate, your blood pressure, what.
This is a picture that got me
then
here.
The big question at the end: did you see a UFO? And if that changes from the previous 6 or 7 questions, then there's an issue, and you can possibly fail.
See, why would you hit a UFO on one light down here and not do damage to the bumper? You know what I mean? It looks to me like it's like he's ran into a person that smashed the light here and rolled onto the bonnet, hit the window, and then probably bent the antenna. Is the antenna on this side or the other side? To me, it looks like he's ran into someone and he's tried to cover it up, and the person's obviously dead or something and panicked. Instead of just saying, "Oh crap, I was drunk," whatever. Because he would have gone to prison, even being a cop, right? This case just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Why would you crash into a UFO and just do that sort of damage? When you've seen, I don't know if you've got the other cases coming up where a woman believed that a car melted. I'm not sure if you've seen that particular case, but it's a really interesting case.
Melted?
It melted the whole body of the car. It was so hot.
But didn't affect her?
I think she may have got a wee bit of sunburnt.
What? It melted the whole car? I think she'd have been...
Yeah, it's a really unusual case. I think I've brought it up before, and it's
cleaning up with a mop.
Yeah, it was on the National UFO Reporting Center. Might be able to see if we can find it again, but that one was more believable than this silly cop one, anyway. But yeah, the antenna.
Yeah, but this is a famous case, so we need to do it, Paul.
Oh,
you know, it needs to be looked at.
Yeah,
because it's a trace evidence case.
I'll just see if we can find it. UFO melts car body. Let's see if that finds it. We might be able to add it onto the end. Okay, it's not coming up. It's come up with the UFO TV show. National Reporting Center, maybe. National. Pretty sure it was that one. If I can type it.
Now let me have an independent search now.
Have you found it? Have you?
No, I'm just gonna try now.
It's a really interesting case. I think we should include it today. But
yeah, sure, we'll do it straight off if you like.
But if we can find it, yeah, if we can find it, melt maybe. I don't think
it's nothing to do with 9/11, is it?
No. She was meant to be driving along the road, and this UFO hovered over the car, and it started melting the body of the car, and it started crumpling up, like it actually had been melted, like it's been put into a big oven, and it was actually melting and it was sort of losing the body structure of the car. It actually looked like it had been heated with an extreme heat source from above. Yeah, if we can find the image, we'll be in business. Is this the one? I know it's a strange invisible object warps car. It could be this one.
Yeah, I always remember times and places, dates, and that's how I search. But UFO melted car, that's not really
From visiting UFO warp wrinkles car. Could be this one. Definitely looks like it's got melted. Now, how would you do that to a car? You'd need a big oven to crush it like that. You notice how it hasn't got any paint chips as well. It's quite interesting. Is that the one? Driver, 21-year-old. So let's just read out a little chunk of this one. I know we're sort of getting off detour, but we'll come back to it maybe.
Illinois. Did magnetic waves from a visiting UFO warp, dent and wrinkle the side of a car heading east on Lake Cook Road? It may be more likely that a deer did the damage. But local UFO enthusiasts are looking into the November 4th event just to make sure, and are planning scientific tests on the car. What could have caused this? Sam Matrano, Illinois director of the Mutual UFO Network, wants to know. The driver was driving down the road at 40-45 miles per hour and felt a little bump, but the damage to the car is really extensive. It must have been something powerful. Most of the driver's side of the 2008 Mitsubishi sedan is caved in, but there's hardly a scratch in the paint. The side mirror hangs from its cables. The driver, a 21-year-old Northbrook court employee, told Northbrook police she saw no cars around as she headed to the Edens Expressway at around 9:19 p.m. She only felt a nudge against my car, according to the supplementary report she filed. Noting the missing mirror, she pulled over at Revere Drive and found the side of the car mangled. Last week, Matrano's organization posted pictures of the car on the National UFO Reporting Center website, www.nufork.org, with the driver's explanation.
Just going to reset the mixer here again.
I don't know if that... Yeah, sure. It's crackling.
I can hear crackling. I'm not sure if it's you or... Yeah, let's restart it. But yeah, I guess... are we back again? Has it finished the crackling? Still got some crackling. And I can see it's coming on your mic there, Robert. Yeah, it's an interesting story, this one, don't you think?
Yeah, the thing is that looks like a CGI to me. I don't know. It looks like it's just been, the pictures, the photographs just been warped.
No, it was actually investigated by MUFON and UFO Center guys.
Okay.
They couldn't explain it. Here you go. National UFO Reporting Center. Okay, let's see what they had to say. Driver said suspected she was sideswiped, but that seemed unlikely given the entire left side of any vehicle appears to be scorched, but not paint was removed. You see, when you get it impact, you normally have scratches and chips of paint removed. It definitely looks like it got melted, right? How would you do that? You know, fake it?
I don't think you can. It's obviously would involve extreme heat, but even then, under the heat, the paint would crack, wouldn't it?
It could be a side swipe. That's what I'm saying.
You know, I mean, to me, it looks like a CGI.
I know it does.
The photograph has been warped, but if it's genuine, like you say, then I don't understand how there's any possibility for the paint to be still intact while it's you know, the whole thing is warped like that. The integrity of the paint is going to go. It's going to crack. It's going to start.
You notice it's going 14 minutes slow, so it adds some credibility to the Val Johnson ones. Oh, let's just read it out, shall we?
Okay.
Let's just read it out, and then we'll go back to the Val one.
I'm gonna drop in and out. Okay, Paul. It's cracked in like hell here.
Yeah, I tried to solve it at my end. I think it's definitely on your mic from what I'm seeing. See, I do add something to the show. There's only a wee bit of paragraph here, anyway. I can still hear the crackle on your mic since you come back. Can you unplug it in?
The driver said police suspected she'd been sideswiped,
on your headset.
but that seems unlikely given the entire left side of my car appears to be scorched, but no paint was removed. The driver is quoted as saying on the website. The item was posted again November 10th on the internet forum page for the Discovery Channel's Mythbusters show, where one wag wrote, "Sounds like someone was out doing something she wasn't supposed to, possibly with someone she wasn't supposed to be with, and concocted this silly story." Matrano said the driver no longer will talk about the incident publicly and doesn't want her name revealed. Matrano has heard claims of otherworldly encounters before. A Minnesota deputy sheriff he interviewed in 1979 said his patrol car was battered. He said this ball of energy went through his windshield, Matrano said. He felt like he was hit by a 200-pound pillow. The clock in the car was 14 minutes slow. The clock in the Northbrook court employee's Mitsubishi remained accurate, Matrano said, and there's no indication that something not of this earth had visited it. "I'm not looking to find an alien under every rock," he said. Still, he's intrigued. There's a deep dent in the pillar separating the windshield from the door frame, and it seems to fit the shape of the mirror. But the mirror is plastic, and the pillar is thick steel. That's like dropping an egg in a skillet and seeing the egg dent the pan, he said. Thursday night, he walked along the Lake Cook Road median looking for mirror pieces, trying to establish that, at least, the driver was telling the truth about where the incident occurred. As 6 lanes of rush hour traffic whizzed by, the Orland Park insurance salesman plucked a little triangular gasket off the concrete and rejoiced. The following day, he had confirmed it is coming from the mirror, he said. That morning, a manager of a body shop near the driver's Chicago apartment looked at the car. On first glance, that's a Sideswiped, Jimmy Chios, of Leo's body shop, said. Then Chios noticed there were no scratches or paint transfers, so he guessed someone had vandalized the car with something with no sharp edges. Finally, he settled on a deer collision. He figured the deer hit the car on an angle, and sort of rolled along the side. Relies, Matrano favors the deer theory too, but isn't fully convinced because no blood or hair was found on the car. Marty Jones, head of the State Urban Deer Project since 1989, favors the deer theory as well. If it was a glancing blow, it may not have even skinned the deer up, other than where it hit that mirror, he said. The deer may have just run off, and it may be still running around. It's amazing what deer can sustain. Both Jones and Chios guessed the driver was on her cell phone November 4th, and the distraction caused her to miss seeing what hit the vehicle or feel the impact. And if you're traveling in a 4,000-pound car and hit something that weighs 300, Chios said, the thing you hit is going to feel it a lot more than you. Source.
So this debunker actually thinks that's a lot of BS being a deer strike. I don't know about you, but to me that doesn't hold water.
No, it doesn't add up at all.
No,
it actually is. It's pretty awful.
So this case, I actually believe, was actually a UFO, like she said it was. Why she doesn't want to talk about it now, though, is a wee bit strange. I think one way it could clear up this thing is to actually go on a lie detector test. But maybe she's been visited again since, or Men in Black have visited her, and said, don't talk about this case.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to sound too conspiracy-minded, but it's possible that she's been told, it wouldn't be the first time that people have been told not to speak about the case. It's not impossible either that she doesn't want the publicity, then she just wants the odds to go away. She doesn't need the attention. Right. It's going to draw. She might have a good job.
Yeah.
And
but if it was a deer strike, you'd say, "Oh, it was definitely a deer strike." You wouldn't say, "Oh, it's a UFO." You know what I mean?
No,
it doesn't make any sense.
No.
I'm just seeing how a deer could hit that, roll along the side, and create this ripple effect.
No chance. No chance. That's pretty much impossible. You'd have blood on the car first start.
It almost looks like it.
You'd have guaranteed blood splatter.
Or some sort of scratch, but
you'd have forensic evidence.
Yeah, I just can't see anything in that picture. Maybe we can find some more pictures online there. So even the tyre looks like it's untouched here, right? The edge of the tyre.
I don't know. That's too out of focus to tell you.
Here we go. We got one off. Oh no, that's it. That's all we got in that one. So what was that one called? The case. That's just it. No deer body was seen anywhere. Hard to believe an animal would just walk off. No, I suppose
No.
it's not impossible,
Well,
but
the only thing with animals, what they'll do when they're dying, they tend to, just it's that kind of cats.
yeah,
They won't die in your house, but they'll go off somewhere, and they'll find somewhere quiet to die. So animals do that. But of course, if you search in the area, then you will find the carcass of the deer.
I was trying to find a case number for it so we can see. So whereabouts is it to all these other locations on the map too? Let's see. Let's just pop that on. So we see if it's related to the other one. That may just confirm. There you go. We're getting a triangle. We're getting a triangle zone here between all those three cases. You can't rule it out. That's the sort of thing I look for: connections. Kansas, Val Johnson, and this one. But I think they were comparing it in the article to the old case, weren't they?
Years involved as well.
Oh yeah.
See, the next one coming up now is 1980, and I've got same time scale. Yeah,
I thought maybe the 14 minutes was on that clock as well, but looks like they're talking about the Val Johnson one here. Deceived. Where's the UFO case number? Oh, right, I'm looking at the wrong one. I think they were comparing it to the Val Johnson 14-minute one, weren't they? Whereabouts was the 14 minutes? It's a wee bit confusing when they start referencing other cases. I want to find the actual case number. So what can we search on here? So it's bad that they haven't got any source links, a bit like what we do here. Hit drive source. Let's see what that takes us. No, it's not taking us to the National Reporting Center. It looks like it's part of the ad. What would you search on this one? You're still crackling like crazy there. You ain't got an alien playing around with your mic there by any chance, have you?
Mate, it stops and it starts. There's nothing I can do about it now.
Have you got a cable to it? And yeah, they're not like Bluetooth, are they? Is there a cable to your headset? Let's see. Okay. That's terrible. I don't know what's going on with your headset lately. I think you need.
Hold on, is that slightly better now?
I think it might be actually.
Okay.
So what did you do? Rotate it?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Reporting sender. Let's see. Does that come up? Visible object. And that's the one we got before, wasn't it?
Yeah, Paul, we got a lot to go through here, while you're messing about.
Well,
we've got good cases coming up,
Oh, we can go on longer. It doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah, well,
I think it's a good case, though, and we need to find the original source information, see what actually was recorded on this one. Maybe someone out there can help us find that more information on that case. We'll go back to Val one if you want. So where did we get to on this one? 2 possibilities. Let's see. It must be down to there then. Works, alien. What happened? I think it was here.
But again, all we've got at the end of the day is a single witness statement, which is never reliable. And we got car damage,
No dash cam
which
back
some
then.
people found unusual, but there's nothing that's super spooky about it.
Yeah.
That suggests that it just wasn't some kind of an impact.
Yeah. Phil, did you really read the eyewitness testimony on the melted car? I'm not sure what you mean. I read out with the reader, but I think there's more information to that. I've come across it before, the article. That's why it was in my memory. What's Mojo up to there?
Well, if Hootip and Mojo would like to post a link for us, maybe we can look at that.
Yeah. You probably have to join our Discord group or Facebook group and post it there.
Yeah.
Because we still haven't got any functionality to allow people to post links. It needs, not moderator, but it needs link privilege or something like that, rights. So if Google or
just thinking, is that the Mojo had the UFO sighting, the video that you examined, Paul?
Mojo, yeah, the alien grey case and the UFO. That's Mojo. How old are you now, Mojo? You're in 64, was it? Kind of maybe you're quite older than us. Have I got you too old now? 54, 64? I know you're in the same age group. Anyway, we better read out the rest of this. It's going to let us.
An alien-controlled UFO? The big question, though, was it some type of alien craft? And that question is impossible to answer with 100% confidence. It's unlikely an alien ship would accidentally collide with the automobile. An alien UFO capable of interstellar travel would simply be too advanced. Its navigation systems would eliminate the possibility of collisions. It would be like a 747 jet accidentally colliding with a Hot Wheels car and not leaving any signs anywhere except on the Hot Wheels car. It's possible Val Johnson's patrol car was hit by an object controlled by a larger, unseen UFO. Perhaps a probe of some sort directed to hit the car as part of an alien research project. This is entirely conjecture, though, as there were no other reported sightings at the time, either by Johnson or anyone else in the area. A hoax perpetrated by Val Johnson? Maybe Val Johnson made it up? UFO skeptic Philip Klass asserts that the Val Johnson incident was a hoax in his 1983 book UFOs, The Public Deceived. He believes Johnson damaged his own patrol car. Val Johnson believed that drug smugglers used small biplanes to move drugs through the area and may have created this hoax in an attempt to draw resources to the investigation. Read this. Did you fall for any of these UFO hoaxes? The sheriff's deputy did refuse to take a lie detector test. But Val Johnson was a police officer with an upstanding record. The people in his department trusted him and believed he never lied to them. So why would he perpetuate a hoax and do so in a way that damaged county property? And remember, Val Johnson didn't seem to be too convinced of the alien UFO hypothesis either. Another hoax possibility. There is one other possibility. Perhaps it was a hoax and Johnson was simply the victim. Had someone else damaged the car? This is probably unlikely due to the offset clocks in the car and on Johnson's watch. While not impossible, it's one thing for a hoaxer to damage a police car, but another to go into the vehicle to make timekeeping changes.
Could he have changed the car clock? 14 minutes to make up the story? I'm sure he could.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of people suspect.
Your mic is super clear now. I think you have to rotate the mic you plug in and it locks. I can't remember reading something on the manual when you bought that. I don't think you had it locked.
Well, it's I don't have the it's the USB connection, but there's two little ports on the other side of the USB that plug in. And I just rotated them a little bit and it cleared up.
So you got to remember to do that in future then, because that's made a big
Yeah,
difference.
but yeah. So anyway, it's a learning process, isn't it? So
It only
it's
took
easily
2
solved.
hours to fix it anyway.
Yeah, well,
the
made me
verdict,
think
2
of that.
possibilities.
Nor did you.
So we're talking about drugs here. Could he have been a dirty cop that was doing drug running, and someone got out of hand and he ran him over? That's well possible. He may have killed a drug dealer that no one cares about, and he would have buried him in the side somewhere, hoping that he'll never be found.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't throw someone in jail for reporting a UFO, can you?
Yeah. I think this story's a big...
You can call him a kook, but that's about the end of it.
Is that the end? Yeah. Oh, we got some comments.
Yeah, I think we're done with this case. You know, my conclusion: highly dubious.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling on this one too.
Yeah.
Story by setting the clock backwards. See, he must have. You can change the clock on the clock car. Attempt to replicate the missing time. Well, we'll just read out the rest of it here anyway.
The verdict: 2 possibilities. The real truth might never be known, but we can draw some possibilities. The most likely explanation is Val Johnson damaged his own police car, either on purpose or by accident, and made up the UFO story to cover himself. He'll lend credibility to the UFO story by setting his clocks and watch back by 14 minutes in an attempt to replicate missing time frequently reported by UFO witnesses. But I have trouble believing it was a full-on hoax. While there isn't much evidence for an otherworldly experience, the same can be said about Val Johnson making the entire thing up. So we must also accept the possibility that something completely and totally unknown really did hit Johnson's patrol car that night. Was it a low-flying airplane by drug smugglers attempting to intimidate a local patrol?
No.
Perhaps. One can easily imagine a landing gear of a small biplane smacking into the windshield of a car, bending the antenna in the process.
Broken headlight, though.
Or Val Johnson actually had an alien encounter. We can't rule it out. But we might never know the real truth. References ufology research. The Val Johnson C2 case of 1979. Real unexplained mysteries. Val Johnson UFO. Wikipedia. Val Johnson incident. MPRNEWS. Whatever happened to the Marshall County cop who hit a UFO? Shards of Magonia. An extraordinary hoax. 3 thoughts on Val Johnson incident. More than just UFO sighting. Sharif Jamil, February 6, 2018 at 8:45 a.m. I like the idea that he was hit by a low-flying airplane piloted by drug smugglers. But that wouldn't explain the 14 minutes of lost time on his watch and clock in the car. Still, it makes the most sense, especially if there were reports of drug smugglers using small planes in the area to move their wares.
Okay, so that kind of makes sense there, because those small planes, the Cessnas or Pipers, they do use them as by drug runners, and they do land on roads, especially country roads. Well,
I think all cards are on the table, aren't they, Paul? Really, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, and of course,
and I think there's much more mundane explanations for what actually happened here than something alien.
Yeah, so if if a small plane was heading towards the cop car to take off, and it could have hit could have easily hit one of the lights, and gone up slightly before it hit the windshield, and then it got higher up and rolled off the screen. It could possibly be.
Yeah, that would have been like a drugs runner's plane. It'd be like a Cessna, wouldn't it?
So why not just say that
I think
you
if
saw
it came into collision with a car, Paul, I think it would have come down.
So why not just say, oh, I saw drug runners land a plane on the road.
Yeah.
They tried to run them off the road with the cop car heading towards the plane, and the landing gear hit the window screen. That's all you need to say. End the story. Write up the report. And because a lot of them don't have...
Yeah, so exactly. All cards are on the table. It's just one of those strange incidents.
Yeah, but why lie about it? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know.
Unless he was in the take and something went sour and they got in the plane and took off without giving them money or something, and he tried to stop him.
What? Jesus.
Well, That's a possibility.
I don't think a plane landed on the highway and a cop
Mm.
in his car
I don't know.
was going to exchange money, and then the takeoff went wrong. That
Right.
sounds a little bit imbecile to me.
Not if he was in the take, and then suddenly it all went wrong, and he tried to stop him taking off, and it went all wrong. And they kept on going and expecting them to stop and turn off. Maybe they took all his money.
Blaming it on a UFO isn't the best of ideas,
Yeah.
especially in 1921 when it was like highly ridiculed.
I don't know. What's the people down the side think on it? Someone's thrown something at the car. Yeah, but it'd have to hit the light and then bounce off the bonnet and hit the window and then bounce off. I suppose it's possible. But what would the thing be that they throw at the car? I don't think it's an animal strike. I rule that one out as a possibility.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's bent the radiator. Sorry, not the radiator, but the antenna over as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It snapped that. It was still there, but it was snapped. Broken.
Okay, so the next case, what we got next?
Okay, if you want. Yeah, this one's quite close to home for you, Paul.
Good.
Not too close, though.
Not Australia, is it? Tasmania?
Sure is.
It's actually quite warm here for it meant to be autumn now, and it's like a summer day here. It's so hot in this bedroom. Must be at least 28 C. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so NICAP. They still take reports, but they don't do any field investigation anymore. And what they do with their reports is they pass them on to MUFON now.
So we wanted to start from...
NICAP had an actual field investigators during the 60s and the 70s. Unfortunately, now MUFON don't have any competition, which means they can get away with just damn well anything,
Animal retraction specialist. So that's getting rid of snakes and stuff. Reaction.
Yeah.
Is that the one I'm talking about? Case directory. Okay, we'll just read it out then.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too much there, actually.
Case Directory, Rosedale, Victoria, Australia, September 30th, 1980. Also listed as a Category 6. Trace case animal reaction feature. About 1 a.m. on a clear, calm, moonlit night, George Blackwell, 54, farmhand and caretaker, was awakened by a screeching whistle and the sounds of cattle bellowing and of a horse running about as if panicked. Looking out, he saw the cattle up in one corner of a paddock and the horse was running in a circle in a small paddock. He also saw an object with lights moving 8-10 feet above the ground. It was not illuminating the ground. For about 2 minutes, still making a whistling sound, the object moved about, passing near a shed, a hedge estimated 500 feet away, and a silo, and it hovered for a minute over a water tank, before settling on the ground. Dressing and going out on his motorbike, Blackwell rode toward the landed object, which was continuing to make a whistling sound. Stopping to open a gate, a disturbed cow, frothing at the mouth, came through the gate and hid itself in an adjacent shed. Blackwell rode his bike to 50 feet from the object and watched until it took off. A week after this event, cattle were still having to be rounded up to the east at the end of a large paddock, and the stock would not go near the area of landing, marked by a dark ring on the ground. Joan Woodward, animal reaction specialist, Blackwell rode his motorbike out into the paddocks and observed the landed, whistling object from 50 feet away. The object consisted of 2 domes, a small white dome on top, and a large orange dome with circular windows or lights, orange and blue, underneath the white dome. The height was estimated as about 15 feet and the diameter as 26 feet. After about 3 minutes, the noise increased and a black tube appeared around the base of the orange dome. The black tube seemed to inflate beyond the diameter of the object, and with a tremendous bang and a blast of air and heat, the object lifted up and moved away. The headlight of Blackwell's bike lit the base, and the black tube seemed to deflate toward the center of the base, and 6 evenly spaced spokes were seen around the base. At 30 feet out and at an altitude of 8-10 feet, the object became silent and debris fell away from the underside. It disappeared going east. As Blackwell sat on his motorbike, which was still running, his body felt like jelly, trembling, and he could go no closer to the object because of the intensity of the noise. Other physiological effects included recurring headaches for 7-8 days and vomiting and diarrhea for the same period. No effects were reported. Motorbike and its headlight were unaffected. Blackwell's watch would not run when he wore it for 3 days, although it did run when he was not wearing it the next day. A circular ring and other ground traces were found. About 10,000 gallons of water reportedly disappeared from a concrete, open-topped water tank over which the object hovered. Source: Busterfield, Keith and Bill Chalker, Rosedale, Victoria, A Close Encounter, chttp www.theosfiles.com rosedale.html, excerpted from UFO Research in Australia and New Zealand, 1989, a book on disc, compiled by Vladimir and Pony Godick. Busterfield, Keith and Bill Chalker, updated October 1997 and February 1998, a catalogue of Australian physical trace case. See http www.project1947.com bctrace1.htm.
See, this is a far more convincing case for me, you know. This is a very well documented case, and it was covered intensely by a lot of good personnel, you know.
Let's see if that website works.
There's a correlation here with UFOs and water.
Doesn't exist.
Sucking up water. And why on earth would they do that? I really don't know. Why they can't find it anywhere else, I don't know.
Well, that's what happened with Mojo's case, was sucking up water, I believe. Why they need water? I think everything needs water. I think it's like the main element that life needs. Well, it's just the water molecule is just amazing element in itself. You know how it's got stages, gas,
H2O,
gas and crystals, and how it sort of is actually stronger than steel when it freezes and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite an amazing little element. Well, compound, or what you want to call it, a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen, 2 gases of all things. So that forms a liquid. And then, of course, oxygen's used pretty much in oxidization and energy release. So that's how our body works, of course, that we talked about.
Yeah, it's a combination of 2 hydrogen atoms, isn't it? Bonded to a single oxygen atom, H2O. Is the most abundant compound on the surface of the Earth, but is it as abundant on other planets? We don't know, do we? Maybe we are special. After all, I don't know. But no, yeah, it's you have a point, Paul. It's sought after. We'd be pretty screwed without it.
Yeah, maybe it's not so abundant in the universe, and maybe they're coming here to take our resources. But who knows?
Well, over the Great Lakes, especially the Canada area, there's been so many numerous sightings of UFOs apparently, hovering over the water and sucking water. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, surely they can replicate their own. Can't they?
Well, hydrogen's pretty light gas.
Maybe I've listened too much to Star Trek. I don't know.
Okay, let's just see. I think I looked at how abundant is. The scientists out there can use spectral scopes. Abundant.
Mhm.
Oh, that's not how you spell it, is it? Abundant is water in universe. This is where OK Google would come in handy. I should have had my watch on. So what's it say here? In our own solar system is the only planet with liquid water on the surface. In a study of more than 1,000 exoplanets, a team led by Li Sang, I'm not sure you said that, planetary scientist of Harvard University in USA, sounds Chinese though, found the fully 35% appeared to contain up to half their mass as water. So they're saying that 35% of the planets out there got water. Is that what they're saying? No, 4,000. And the question is, how many exoplanets are in the universe now? Then I guess so. So one third of the planets have water, is what I'm reading there. Anyway, according to their spectrum analysis, how do they know a planet has water? Scientists have detected liquid water using radio signals. The radar detection and radar instrument of the Cassini probe was used to detect the existence of layer of liquid water and ammonia beneath the surface of Saturn's moon Titan, consistent with calculations of the moon's density. So even the moon, I think, had like frozen liquid under the surface. But yeah, but then they saw it was compressing in and out as it was going around the planet, and it was heating up the liquid inside, and it was ejecting steam water into space. So I think that was the famous.
You know, the first time we detected another exoplanet ourselves, and it was called Pegasi. That was actually in 1995, as late as that, you know. It was a giant planet in 4-day orbit, as I remember. Nearby star 51 Pegasi. Yeah, that's the star. Pegasi was the star. I'm just looking it up now. Unlike Earth, most of the exoplanets are not tightly bound to stars, so they're actually wandering through space or loosely orbiting between stars. Okay, so
there we go. We've got an answer here.
Something possible about it.
Latest
something special about us after all.
Latest information is on 5th of March. There's 4,135 confirmed exoplanets. So only 1/3 of those that we've discovered so far have water on the surface. Did they say?
Yeah.
So it is quite abundant in that case. But the distances between planets, as we know, is quite extreme. So maybe a UFO hopping from solar system to solar system is going to run low on water. But they would recycle it, though, wouldn't it? You know, simply heat it up with a fusion reactor or whatever. PP and
it's like drinking your own wee, that isn't it?
Yeah, but when it's distilled, you don't have the other chemicals in it, and you put it through carbon filters, so it'd be like clean water again. Isn't it in UK that apparently the water you're drinking out the tap there has been through like 10,000 kidneys already? UK water.
It's done me no harm. Oh, Paul, please don't type in UK water. This is a UFO show.
All right, I won't look it up. But
I
know there's a fact there. It tells you how many times the average cup of water in the UK.
Oh, God, we put a lot of chlorine out. Now, what are you doing?
So, yeah, as we know, water gets recycled on our planet, and it's... what we drink, we don't think it's been through probably 10,000 other people by the time we get to drink it ourselves now, which is quite interesting. Mojo had something to say here, did you? Agreed. Animal can see into larger vehicle spectrum, visible spectrum. When there was actin sighting happening, my neighbour dog was reacting. Yeah, that's possible. Dogs have a different visual spectrum for sure. I know my dog can see hedgehogs where I can't see. I can only see pitch blackness, but he can see a hedgehog in the park, in the middle of a park, from at least 20, 30 meters away.
Yeah, sure, but I think a cat has. I think to a cat, darkness is like daylight. To a dog, it's not quite daylight, but I tell you what, it's a lot better than us.
They can hear things too, which is quite amazing. They hear a little rustle noise.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we read out that whole page there. So was there anything else you wanted about the Australian case?
Hell, we've gone off on a tangent as usual, as we do. So
Damn,
we've read
Paul.
out the whole page, yeah? Yeah, okay.
Was there more
But,
to this case that you got to present, or what?
Well, not particularly, no.
No.
But the see, this is the thing that makes me convinced that this is a genuine UFO event. It's the animal reaction, the odd effect.
Yep, and got heightened senses. But the thing is, when people get abducted, though, I'm pretty sure they're able to not bother the dog in the house, right? But I think Earl was talking about a case on one of my episodes where the guy had a dog on his bed, a little lap dog.
Yeah.
And can't remember what he said now exactly, but I think it was yapping at the alien or something. I think that's the one that got a laser beam to the head or something. Was it some sort of laser beam coming out of it? I have to go back and listen to that episode again. This is where handy if we had Earl on the side too, because he'd be able to bring up cases that he's heard to connect to this one here.
Yeah, but Paul, can I just say something now? Yeah, looking at this now, cattle bellowing and a horse running about as if panicked. This is where I think the UFO phenomena overlaps with the supernatural phenomena. It's when I seen what I did, not the UFO case, on the breakwater with what we'd call ghosts. The dog was running around in circles and howling, which disturbed the hell out of us even more after what we'd seen and then seen disappear. There's definitely an animal reaction. Look for that every time. If you can go to the Atlov Pass. You know, when they brought the cadaver dogs in and they brought the tracking dogs in, the dogs wouldn't get out of the damn helicopter.
Right.
They had to drag them out.
Yeah, so maybe you're saying that. Maybe they can pick up a scent, you see.
They just know something that we don't know. We've evolved so far that we've lost our kind of primal instincts in a way. But a dog still has them.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, a dog, you can feed the dog and and the dog will eat until he's sick. Until he throws it back up. And then he'll go back to it the next day and eat it again.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know, even though you feed him every single day, he still does not understand where his next meal is coming from. So you put anything in front of him, 10 meals in one day, he'll still try and eat it all.
Yeah. Some dogs do. Charlie would.
Finally,
Charlie has food on the floor. It depends how you raise them, I think. If they know that there's always going to be food available, they don't.
No, I don't think you can ever take that primal instinct out of an animal.
Well, I can tell you.
That's impossible. I disagree with that.
Well, Charlie won't eat meat if he's not hungry, and he won't gorge it down. He won't just keep on going and make himself sick. I think some dogs are more clever than others, and have more what I call the human brain. You got to remember, Border Collie is up there with intelligence, and he's part Border Collie and Kelpie, which are two farm dogs, which are quite intelligent breeds. So yeah, he's a different beast to all the other dogs we've had, for sure. A Labby will keep on eating until they die. Labby's probably the most dumbest dog.
Got a tendency to put weight on as well, so you're going to be quite strict with a Labrador how much food you give them.
Yeah, some dogs are not all equal, for sure.
No.
But they definitely do have a human brain, and when they see like a cat or a hedgehog, the human brain goes out the window, and it's all dog brain then and hunted mode. But yeah, that's what they're programmed for. You know, that killing stuff smaller than them to eat. But anyway, we're going off the topic again.
So I quite enjoyed that anyway. But yeah.
That's all right, as long as you enjoy it. And then
that's fine. Just a couple of things to concentrate on now with this case with Rosedale, Victoria, Australia, of course, was the animal reaction.
Yeah.
The water being sucked up was certainly missing.
Yeah.
And there's a whistling sound. Which has been reported on many occasions. Which
whistling
makes me
sound
think
or humming sound?
This case, and it was a circular ring again, because we're looking at trace evidence cases. Another ground traces were found. 10,000 gallons of water disappeared from the concrete open top water tank.
Yeah.
Over which the object hovered.
Right.
I mean, everything in that case brings true of other cases, and 1980 as well. Rendlesham, Cash Landrum. Yeah, those two cases in 1980. So I don't know. Who knows? I'm trying to make a correlation out on nothing probably, but. I just thought that year is quite significant in UFO history.
I know all the stories I've heard about animals and UFOs. The forest goes quiet, and then as the UFO leaves the forest,
it seems to go one way or the other. It all goes quiet, or it all gets noisy, and there's panic.
I'm not sure about noisy, but yeah. So we got another link to go through, another case.
Sure. Yeah.
Man, it's hot today. 27.5 it says on the wall clock. What's that in Fahrenheit? Let me just try to say 20C to Fahrenheit. Whatever it will know. There you go, 82 Fahrenheit, is it? In Australia it gets up to about 130, isn't it, Fahrenheit? What's 130? 45 degrees, 54. Oh, some places in Australia up to 54. Okay. 48, that sounds more like it. 120. Yeah, I was just watching a gold mining show. I think it was Parker doing Australia, and they said, where they go. Parker from Gold Rush, they were saying that it gets up to 120 Fahrenheit, which would be 48 degrees Celsius, which makes sense.
You watch these stupid shows, don't you? Wasting all your time.
Wasting all my time. I'm learning.
Yeah, well, as long as you're learning something from them, that's cool.
Learning how to collect gold. Gold is probably another rare element in the universe, right? Which would mean that we use a lot in electronics and shielding it makes sense that the UFOs would also be after gold, and it's probably very hard to get it because it's all in, comes up in the quartz seams of volcanic reactions, right? So that's probably why we might see UFOs around volcanoes. Maybe they've got some way of extracting it as well. So yeah, you never know what resources they're taking from planet water, gold, stuff they need themselves.
Yeah, but we're thinking like a human. What do they need? We just don't know, do we?
Well, they could possibly consume it as well.
We don't think like an alien, do we? We don't know how they think. We can't think like they think.
Yes, we can think what they think, but help. Yep, okay. Because they're going to be creatures like us. They're going to have resources as well as food. But I heard that some stories that aliens eat gold. Have you heard that story before? And they need,
for God's sakes, Paul.
They needed gold in their diet, apparently.
Good God, you sounded like Coffee Good now.
Well, there may be some science to it. I haven't actually looked into it in a scientific way. So where are we going to now? Russia? That kind of looks like a Russian one.
I think Valençol is in France.
In France, it kind of looks like...
Valençol doesn't sound very Russian to me, Paul.
Why is it so dark on the screen, though? A French close encounter. It's very dim on the red page there. Okay, so you want us to read it out? Oh God, it's very small writing and it goes on forever. Hasn't got any paragraph breaks. Has it been cut and pasted from another web page or something? So where do we go down to on this?
Read the whole lot out there and we'll discuss at the bottom.
Read it all out. That might go on for an hour. There's a lot there. We go down to 2004. Is that the last bit?
Can't you pause it while it's reading?
We can pause it, yeah.
This case is considered one of the classic UFO reports and was one of the best authenticated close encounter incidents in continental Europe, which included not only physical trace evidence, botanical data and physiological data, but also detailed descriptions of the beings associated with the UFO. This incident came to be known as the Valençol case, not only because it was one of the most thoroughly investigated by private UFO investigators on record, but was also investigated by French government agencies from the same day of the event. The following UFO and alien sighting occurred in a lavender field near the town of Valençol, located in Alpes-de-Haute province, in the south of France. On July 1, 1965, at about 5:45 a.m. 05.45 hours, 41-year-old French lavender farmer, Maurice Mass, was smoking a cigarette as he was about to start his tractor, which was parked behind a pile of stones about 2 meters high, when he suddenly heard a whistle-like sound that spread throughout the area. From that location he couldn't see what it was, but believing that it could be a military helicopter making an unauthorized landing on his property, he decided to head towards the source of the sound. When he came out from behind the pile of stones, he was stunned to find an odd-looking object sitting in the middle of his lavender field at a distance of about 90 meters, 295 feet. He approached the object quietly, walking along a vineyard and among some rocks while staring at it carefully. The object was the size of a Renault Dauphine automobile, 3 to 3.50 meters wide, with about 2.50 meters high, was shaped like a rugby ball, and was of a dull neutral color. It had a transparent cupola on top and 6 legs mounted on a central pivot which sunk into the ground, reminiscent of a huge spider. As he neared the object, he observed 2 small humanoids resembling 8-year-old boys, about 1.2 meters tall, about 4 feet. Since he was more curious than afraid, he continued heading toward them when he noticed their abnormally large heads in relation to their bodies, about 3 times that of a human head, and their general morphology was similar to ours, but obviously were not human. They were crouching and examining some lavender plants, when finally one of the beings spotted him coming toward them 8 meters, 26 feet, away. Both of them got up and the other one pointed a pencil-like object at Mass, which paralyzed him, but apparently he did not lose consciousness and was able to keep observing. The being then placed the object into a small case or holster on its left side and began to speak in an unknown language with his partner. This allowed the witness to carefully examine the beings and the craft better while remaining immobilized for a few minutes. They wore a gray-green one-piece suit, were bald, pumpkin-like heads, large slanted eyes, white skin, long ears, high fleshy cheekbones and with a small circular mouth. He remembered that there was then a sort of telepathic communication with these beings with a sense of benevolence. These two beings then stayed for a few minutes conversing with each other, looking at him most of the time. He noticed that their eyes were moving and heard a gurgling sound that surely came from their throats. They almost had no neck as their heads were tucked into their shoulders. About 4 to 5 minutes later both beings moved on toward the craft and entered through a sliding door. Once inside, the door closed automatically, sliding from the bottom up. Through the transparent cupola, Mass could see both beings sitting near the controls, where they were apparently looking at him from inside the object. With the whistling sound again, the craft hovered briefly while the 6 legs turned in a clockwise direction and retracted inside. Then the craft took off toward the west at high speed. Physical trace evidence. Mass remained paralyzed for about 15 minutes after that, and upon regaining movement he inspected the spot where the UFO had landed and found a deep crater, and the ground was extremely moist despite the fact that it had not rained for some time. On the night after the encounter, Mass and his 18-year-old daughter went back to inspect the landing site and noticed that the soil, which was once extremely moist, has now become as hard as concrete compared to the surrounding soil, which crumbled when held. French government officials and the police found geometrically spaced indentations covering the area and a 3-meter-wide circular area in the middle of rows of lavender plants, which appeared to decay in proportion to their distance from the central column of the craft. An analysis found a higher amount of calcium at the landing site that was found to be much higher than in samples taken from other areas in the field. Around the perimeter a number of lavender plants were stunted and withered-looking. Mass did make an attempt to replant on the landing site, but these plants also died. The most remarkable of the ground traces was that no lavender plants would grow at the landing site for 10 years. After the incident, Mass was overcome with drowsiness and found it difficult to stay awake for more than 4 hours at a time. He slept 12 to 14 hours on the first day, and then the next day he slept nearly 24 hours. It was recorded that he continued sleeping 12 to 15 hours each night for several months after the incident before regaining his normal sleep habits. The investigation, besides being investigated by French government agencies when it happened, a number of UFO investigators interviewed Mass, including the distinguished Professor Jacques Vallée, and concluded that Mass is sincere and a man of good character. Vallée declared, "Throughout these discussions with Mr. Mass, I had the feeling that I was in the presence of a very intelligent man, capable of deep emotions and rational thoughts. He is also quite humble." Mass was regarded as absolutely trustworthy by police investigators. Lieutenant Colonel Volnet and Maitre Chotard, leading the gendarmerie, and the mayor of Valençol, in fact everyone who investigated the case, concluded that Maurice Mass was telling the truth. A famous French ufologist, Michel, visited Mass on August 8, 1965, and at the end of the interview showed Mass a drawing of the Socorro UFO which Mass took to be his object, stating, "Someone else has seen my UFO." Michel stated, "If the witness has invented that story, he invented something entirely consistent with what we already know, particularly consistent with what happened last year in the United States in a place called Socorro," referring to Officer Lonnie Zamora's UFO sighting near the town of Socorro, New Mexico of 1964. Michel reported that Mass appeared anxious, nervous and distressed at the interview. Mass said of the beings, "They were good and they did not wish to do us any harm." Jimmy Guyou, a French writer and investigator, went to the scene wanting to collect some soil sample from where the craft had landed and broke the blade of his knife as the ground was very hard. Mass fled to the coast to avoid the press and the curious. The effects from this UFO and alien sighting were felt for many years after the incident. Maurice Mass passed away on May 14, 2004.
Finished.
Yeah, okay then. So, see, the ground is very hard. He couldn't put a knife in it. And then that sounds like compression of the soil, doesn't it? By, heavy weight.
But still,
So it sounds like something landed there. And I think this is a genuine case as well,
I think it's more than weight there by the sounds of it, because you'd have to heat it up and turn it into like concrete, not to better put.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it could have been heat and compression combined.
I don't know if it got investigated and actually they took samples of it or anything like that to prove that it was melted together or whatever.
Well, the trouble is, UFO groups don't have the resources to carry out that kind of research, Paul, and this is where the big problem lies.
And you know that I have my doubts about the Socorro one. Whether this guy heard about it. And...
I have my doubts whether it was alien, but we'll never agree on me and you. We'll never agree on your account of it. I don't think for 1 second it was a lunar lander being towed around by a helicopter all over New Mexico. I think that's absolute nonsense, to be honest. But that was your, hypothesis. Fair play. That's okay if you want to believe in that. But something happened there. It was odd. I can tell you what, that was the case that changed Hynek's mind once and for all,
What's that?
And he may have known. Oh, yes, absolutely. I know for a fact it was. He said it in his book. I can't remember which one it was now because I've read about it.
But he also said the burn marks weren't consistent, weren't big enough to be lifting up a car-sized object.
Oh, listen to this, Paul. He lied his teeth out at a press release about the incident.
Well, I don't know.
Hynek isn't this hero of ufology that you might think, because even when he turned from skeptic to believer, some of the people, especially APRO, I think the Lorenzans, would never trust him again.
So I don't know
if the swamp gas movie and all the other stuff, they'd never trust Hynek again.
Yeah, I don't know anyone's actually looked into our 4 videos on Socorro, but it was a heated debate.
Not my videos, your videos. We've never agreed on that, and we never will. But that's okay.
All the facts lined up though. The distance.
No.
The distance.
Mate, 102 feet away from the helicopter.
Helicopter that was hovering,
and the wind is blowing in your direction,
and the rocket engine's firing. You're not going to pay any attention to what's happening above an object with the spinning blades that you can't see.
Yeah, I'm not having it.
I know you're not having it, but people else can actually find the playlist here and actually watch those episodes while we're talking about it.
Yeah,
I got it.
But you also need to look. If you're going to look at the Socorro case, the ultimate tribute to the Socorro case is Ray Stanford's work. Look at his work. Look at his articles. Buy his books.
Yeah, but you know me. I'd like to not be influenced by other people's things and look at it with fresh eyes.
He was there on the scene. He spoke to the witnesses. You never. I
never.
But
he didn't speak to the ones that come out since. That's the difference.
And who were they?
That's what's on the episodes. That's on the episodes I talk about here. They come out only a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago?
Yeah.
This is 1964, 1965, a couple of years ago. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
How old were they?
Pretty old, but they did come forward and say they actually trampled over the site before, while the cop car was letting it happen. There's like a dozen people walking around on the crime scene, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the measurements and all that as well. Socorro.
Yeah, it doesn't actually explain the little guys, does it?
What little guy? Oh, yes, it is. Japanese technicians flying a helicopter around. Of course it does.
Oh my God! Right, so we've got Japanese technicians in New Mexico flying a helicopter around, towing a lunar lander.
No,
Paul,
you're just exaggerating.
what are you?
You're
How are
exaggerating
you
all my
talking
information
about, man?
again. It was being transported from Hughes Tools factory out to Air Force Base, and they did a test run at a abandoned mine where Socorro saw it come down. And then they took off again and went on the way to the Air Force Base. There'll be documentation out there that proves that happened. I guarantee it. But anyway,
you've got White Sands Proving Ground, yeah, which is like
that's where they were transporting it to.
acres.
How do you think they transported the lunar module?
Fly it over a public area, over a garage, spook the hell out of a load of people. And you've got at least 12, 15 independent witnesses that came forward, describing an egg-shaped helicopter, and none of them, an egg-shaped craft, and none of them described a helicopter.
But you are also correct. There was a couple of witnesses said they saw this odd-shaped craft in the sky, and then they realised it was a helicopter. So, yeah.
Oh, they seen an egg-shaped craft and they realised it was a helicopter.
Yeah, when it got closer to them. But anyway, but without the rocket engines firing, you're going to hear the boom, 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 boom
I haven't
noise.
seen none of that testimony.
Well, you got to watch my stuff, but
well, you show me the witnesses where they said they saw an egg-shaped craft and then realised it was a helicopter.
I think it's in those documentaries. There's one or two witnesses that are at a garage or something like that. Or someone that lived there, something like that. I'd have to go back through over all my live streams.
No. I know what you're talking about. There was a family that pulled over at a garage.
Yeah, there was that too. Yeah, but no, this is something else.
Yeah, and they said, "You don't have to fly low over here, don't you?" And the guy said, "Are you sure it wasn't a helicopter?" And he says, "No, it didn't sound like a helicopter. It didn't look like a helicopter." The garage owner says, "Okay," filled up his tank, and that was it. But there was 4 witnesses in the car.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to debunk it all going anyway, but...
No. Let's move on.
But anyway, people can check it out there. So what did we get up to?
Yep.
We finished off that case there with the 2 strange-looking aliens. But we have covered that one before in the Wave one.
We covered it as in an occupant landing, didn't we? We didn't cover it as like trace evidence, but there was trace evidence there as well. So it's come up again, but there's no harm in that.
Of course, it could be the same craft that they were testing and it ended up in France from America. As a possibility, but why would they be strange-looking creatures as a Christian?
Yeah.
But why would they have rocket engines is the one I always find a bit tricky to comprehend.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you'd think it was it'd be something a bit less noisy, and
I know there was some crazy stuff that came out with the Roswell one, saying that there was a project by the Russians to modify human faces to fly a was it some sort of helicopter or something? Fly over America, crash land it, and reveal themselves, and then try and get it out, disappear again. But something like that. There's some crazy theory that it was some sort of Russian genetic thing to actually fool America.
God.
Have you not heard?
Roswell, Jesus, man.
I'm pretty sure people out there know what I'm talking about. There was something about...
giving me a headache now. Roswell just won't go away. I can tell you that it's never going to go away. I'm absolutely convinced that whatever did crash there was something... the only thing that adds up is something ET.
Let's see.
If you look at all the evidence.
Yeah, but Russia were experimenting with animals and all sorts of trying to make hybrids They may have modified some sort of.
If it was some Russian thing that crashed here in 1947, they'd gleefully tell us. The Americans.
Well, I'm just going the story. I don't know if it comes from Red Nick.
Look what these Ruskies have done.
I'm not sure if it was from.
Tell us. So that one, you can rule that one out straight away.
I'm not sure who it comes from, Red Nickfern or whatever his name is.
Nick Redfern. No, they were Chinese. Absolutely.
No, it might have been some sort of monkey, some sort of monkey modification. They stuck it in this remote controlled.
The Americans blamed it on crash test dummies.
No. It was unbelievable. It was like a false flag thing done by the Russians to create some panic that there was aliens there. There's some story like that. Someone out there would have heard that story somewhere on the. Is it Open Minds released the story? Someone out there will know about it.
No, I think Roswell was a real event, as in a real ET event. I really do. I'm 95. I'm 95% that. But
then again,
if you look at all the data, Paul, and if you look at the likes of Dubose, Arthur Exxon, high-ranking, general status, that were making official statements that Roswell was a reality, and then you put together over 600 witnesses. Some first hand, some second hand, some third hand. I honestly think it was whatever it was, they didn't know what it was, and they quickly made their mind up that it was quite obviously not of this planet. Hence, it went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They tried to cover that up, but that didn't work either because an FBI document let them down there. Which showed that it actually did go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which at the time was the biggest military scientific lab on the planet, I would imagine, unless Russia had something better. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if it was anything Russian or Japanese or anything or Russian at that stage, come on, it's 2020 now that they've told us. So they could have put the whole thing to bed, couldn't they? Just by telling us that. But no, they're still keeping it quiet. Have a look. You can find on YouTube 1997 Roswell press conference. If you type that in, it's a laugh and a joke. It really is.
I was just trying to find my episode on UFO Planet because Mojo's mentioned his name there, and yeah, he got quite nasty. Yeah, it could be. I tell you what, my throat's been a bit sore lately. I don't know if it's. See, the problem is you don't know if it's a regular flu that you've got too, and a lot of people probably just stay home thinking it's a regular flu and get over it.
You can just worry yourself to death about it, to be honest.
I was just trying to find the thing.
I'm not do that.
UFO Planet, but I can't see it. I don't know if they're still operational or not. But yeah. Typical UFO. The search on Google was really bad.
Okay, guys. I've got the 1997 Roswell conference for you here now. I'll paste that. Yeah, that's part 1 of 3, and you can just follow on from there. And I can tell you now, if you think that guy isn't lying you, well, I think your judgment's a bit off.
Did he make any money from it? Is always the first question.
Who? No, this is the military explanation, Paul.
I was talking about the farmer. outside smoking.
No. There was no apparent sign of the many involved.
You got another link to go?
Sure.
I'm just still trying to find that link. What Darren Grapo said about us was really bad.
Who?
Darren Grapo. I think he got mixed up with UFO Proof. I think he forgot who I was, and he was rambling on about how he hates America and all that sort of stuff. Where's the link to it? We got images of his screen snapshots in the chat. I just can't see UFO Planet. Should be in a playlist.
Okay. I have to go we again. Sorry.
Why can't I see it, guys? Should have been there. I should have seen it. It's annoying that I can't see very well. It should have been here. Come on, where is it? It should be staring at me in the face. Mr. MBB, Seekers, UFO Seekers, UFO Proof, Bruce Sees All, Steve Barone, UFO Man, Corey Good. Where is UFO Planet? Should have been here. Still, I missed it again. It's gotta be here. Unless someone's deleted my playlist, which I wouldn't put it past Google. Goofon, Jason Gleaves, Billy Meyer, the whole shebang, bang, bang, bang. Scott C. Warren, David Paulides, all these frauds out there. Billy Meyer. Should be here. Oh, this is really crazy. Mr. M. Oh, here we are. UFO Planet. Found it. But if you want to have a look at all my playlists, if it doesn't come up right, just click on Created and it lists it that way and it all shows them up. So, UFO Planet. Attack. Go and have a read of that and see if you still think Crapo is a good man. Anyway. So, Rob, you posted the link here, did you? Copy link. I need to get a drink again. Oh, is it a YouTube? You gave me a YouTube video, did you? I can't hear you for some reason. You got it muted, haven't you? Robert, you're not there. So what do we got here? We got, is it an old one?
The government. Now the sensational story.
CNN, so it should be alright, shouldn't it? I can hear you now.
Back.
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This Darren's been replaced by Alien. He's definitely not the same man, or it's someone pretending to be him. But anyway, go and have a watch of that episode after and have a look. So we should be able to play this one without any filter. CNN Roswell reports. Is that the one you wanted me to play?
No, I was just, you can if you want. If you want to go on to Roswell.
No, I was looking for a link.
I'm cool with it.
Have I got the wrong link? If I got one that you posted earlier or something. That's a YouTube video in Roswell. Is that the one you wanted me to play, or talk about something else?
No. All I wanted to do was share that with the people who were listening.
All right, I thought you were having
Okay.
another link to read out on another UFO case.
Yeah, that's the per the Roswell conference, case closed, as they said.
All right,
Okay.
yeah, with the Mogul balloon.
Well, yeah, Project and Crash Test Dummies being the aliens, yeah.
They're too big anyway. But yeah.
Well, it wasn't that. The Roswell, occurred in 1947, and these anthropomorphic crash test dummies weren't invented till 1952. So, even worse than aliens, we're now dealing with time traveling crash test dummies, which is a bit of a concern, isn't it? Yeah, and he tries to throw some light on it by, mentioning things like Independence Day and what have you. And at one point, he actually turns around and says, "I'm so nervous, my legs are shaking." Yeah, Lieutenant John Haynes, I think his name was, who presents that case closed jobby, and yeah. He's lying through his teeth. He doesn't want to be there. They've just put him out there as a puppet.
Oh, here's the thing
tell
about
their version of the story. And they got this book which thickened the phone directory.
Here you go.
Giving all these explanations for what Roswell could have been, and most of the stuff, yeah, was like 60s and 70s projects, nothing to do with 1947.
Okay, so here's the thing about the Russian influence to Roswell, because as you know, the mainstream media are crazy about Russia influence lately. So let's read that bit there. I think this is probably the story that I was thinking of.
By Alan Boyle, science editor, NBC News investigative journalist Annie Jacobson's new book, Area 51, suggests that the Soviets stirred up the Roswell UFO incident in 1947 by sending flying discs into New Mexico with child-size aviators on board, as a warning that they could spark a UFO panic if they wanted to. But will that explanation fly? Jacobson's revelation is based on an account from just one unnamed source. This source said he was an engineer with the company Egan at Area 51, the hush-hush military research site in Nevada. He told Jacobson that he studied the remnants of the Roswell crash in 1951, along with 4 other Egan engineers. There are no documents to confirm the account, because, Jacobson says, this was one of the most tightly held secrets of the Cold War. Even though that confirmation is lacking, Jacobson says she stands by her source's amazing account. He had nothing to gain and everything to lose by telling me, she told me, but it was a matter of conscience for him.
Yeah, we've got a lot more to it here, I think. So I'm not sure who this Jacobson guy is, with his crazy Russian explanation.
Yeah, I know it's Joseph Mengeles.
Jacobson's source recounted what Hess says he saw, as well as what he was told and what he surmised based on that information. Here's single quote STHE scenario presented in Area 51, an uncensored history of America's top secret military base, based on the source's account. After World War II, the Soviets capitalized on the work being done on stealthy flying wing aircraft by a group of Nazi German engineers headed by 2 brothers, Walter and Reimar Harten. They developed disc-shaped flying machines that could sporadically evade radar detection. The U.S. military perfected such technology at Area 51 over the decades that followed to produce planes such as the F-117 stealth attack aircraft. Soviet leaders were spooked by the U.S. military's use of the atom bomb to bring the war to a quick close. They were a couple of years away from developing their own atomic weapons, based on secrets stolen from the U.S. bomb effort. The Roswell incident was aimed at warning the Truman administration that the Soviets could create a UFO hoax, stirring up fears similar to those that were sparked inadvertently by the fictional War of the Worlds radio broadcast in 1938. Jacobson's source believes that the Soviets dispatched flying disc drone aircraft from a mothership flying near Alaska. Intermittent radar signals were picked up by U.S. installations, but the discs were nevertheless able to enter U.S. airspace and come down near Roswell, New Mexico. Child-size aviators were aboard the discs. Humans, seemingly about 13 years old, while may have been surgically or biologically altered to give them enlarged heads and eyes.
Oh
Jacobson quotes her source as saying he was told that the alien lookalikes were the result of experiments conducted by Nazi mad scientist Joseph Mengele. The bodies were recovered from the wreckage, and 2 of them were alive but comatose. The wreckage and the bodies were transported from New Mexico to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio for study, then transferred again to Area 51 in Nevada. This is where Jacobson's source saw them in 1951. The source is quoted as saying he saw Russian writing stamped on a ring that went around the inside of the aircraft, and that he saw the child-sized bodies on a life support system. When Jacobson asked why President Harry Truman didn't report all this in 1947, she said the source replied, "Because we were doing the same thing." She notes in the book that the Atomic Energy Commission and the Defense Department carried out human experiments on the effects of radiation, and suggests that the hundreds of experiments revealed in 1995 were just the tip of the iceberg. "I believe that a lot of what the Atomic Energy Commission did was reckless and dangerous," she told me. This latest explanation runs counter to the scenarios put forward by the federal government. First, that the Roswell wreckage came from a weather balloon, and then that it was debris from a crash test dummy drop as well as a balloon-borne experiment to monitor nuclear blasts. It also runs counter to the long-held claims by UFO activists that the crash actually represented a covered-up visitation by extraterrestrials.
Okay.
I think that is probably the worst explanation in the history of Roswell. Nothing at all adds up.
Yeah, but you say that about it all debunks.
What?
Yeah.
So do you honestly believe that story, Paul?
Well, yeah.
That is the biggest kook explanation you could ever come across.
Well, let's see.
Right there. Let's see who's wrote the article.
Is it possible that they got some genetic modified children with big heads and
God, come on.
Stuck it inside a saucer on a high altitude balloon, then released it and crashed it into America? Yeah, I reckon they could easily do that.
But it wasn't a balloon. It was clearly not a balloon.
No. Released it from a high altitude balloon so it would come down and crash somewhere in America with the so-called hybrid aliens in it. It's possible. We can't rule it out, even though it sounds crazy as. We can't rule it out that they weren't doing crazy genetic.
Okay, look, all the doctors and scientists in the land would surely have come to the conclusion that those people would deform human beings, and they would have told us.
You reckon? Yeah. You reckon the government would say?
End of, because it's what someone else has done. It's not what they've done. You see what I mean? You with me now?
I don't know. I think it's still possible.
And that would have just made the public feel more on side towards America. But to cover it up, it must have been something they either done themselves.
Yeah, but you got to remember they experimented on their own troops for a long time. LSD one and some other stuff as well.
Yeah, MK Ultra, yeah.
But anyway, I found the article there. I still want to find more on the other case. So we got some more to go, have we? Or we're going to wrap up? It must be getting close because we've got some people dropping off now. How's everyone out there feeling? Want to go to bed? I know I'm exhausted, but let's see what's it saying here. Come up to 3 hours on the dot. Okay. So this thing, National Reporting Centre, have I got the right thing? .org.
Yeah, where are you going now, Paul?
Well,
You're going from one case
I
to
thought we
another.
were just going back to that old case. I thought we were finished now.
Okay, if you want. That's no problem. I can go on for a bit.
Have you
It's
got?
late for me. It's early for you.
It's early for me, but I feel like I've been up all night. But and I'm getting neck ache and all that sort of stuff, you know.
Okay, no probs.
But if there any more you wanted to add to this particular case, I don't know. We can still keep on going.
Yeah, well, we've just moved on. I mean, the South African case. Have you picked up on that yet?
No, but we can do it next if you want. So this one keeps coming up. Where's all the other case information on this one? Melted front car. Let's have a look at that one there. Someone's going to have it linked to the original source somewhere. Why is it not going off the edge? Oh, there we go. Skies, Bent Waters, England. What's that one?
Bent Waters is Bendlesham Forest Incident, 1980.
Yeah, so where's the melted car business? Well, there's meant to be on this one. Looks like it's got lots and lots of different reports here. We're going to have to look more into that one. I think that one needs to be brought up again in future. The melted car one. Maybe there's another.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another similar case to that one by now.
Yeah.
But how can the car get crumpled like that and did the person get away? Unless it was.
I don't know.
Unless it was a beam. This is a beam of energy coming down, and it grazed that side of the car which is because they're driving on the left-hand side, not the right-hand side.
Yeah, I've got to give it that. It's truly anomalous. You know, I don't have any explanation for that, unless that picture was a CGI, and I'm sure it probably wasn't.
I wonder if we can search on their database directly.
Because it would have been picked out as one by now. Some would have got on top of it, and
it's actually quite a good website. This one, I need to scale it down though.
What website is it?
National Reporting Centre.
Oh God, yeah, that's a good website. Yeah,
but they do go on Coast to Coast AM, which is a fraud promotion site. But they do have this guy on for like news clips and stuff. I don't know if they still do or not, but they used to. But you can see here the page could do with a bit better format, and it looks like from 1980s. Has it got a search tool here? We could probably search it. I've got online report form. But is there any search facility on this page? But yeah, it has like drawings from witnesses. It's actually quite good. I kind of like it. How they do it. Without having to search like you do with all the other ones. So it's got some alien writing one here. Is it? Let's have a look. Alien symbols. Rivet holes? I don't know. What's that one? We're getting sidetracked, I know, but yeah. I don't know if you can search on there directly. Is there any search bar here? I'm not seeing it. Search their database. There must be. It just goes on forever and ever. Search, tick here. It's got no menu. Unless I'm not seeing it. Down the side. Reports. I can't see a search thing. Historic reports, maybe?
Go on.
I don't know. I just can't see a typical search thing. Oh. Goes back a few years, doesn't it? But we need a search tool. So there's a lot of good stuff on the site. You should actually go through it and see what you can find here and just go through. Pilot one there. They look like Mendel, was it? Not Mendel. Is it? What's his name? That's chased the UFO and crashed. What was his name?
Thomas Mantell.
Mendel.
Yeah, it was over Kentucky in 1948.
Well, we know it was reported here on this site, so if you can find the car one, we'd be in business. It's funny how when you're not looking for it, you can find it just like that, and when you're looking for it on a live stream, it's very difficult to find it. But anyway, that's a really good case, that one. Maybe I should bookmark it to remind me. Is that a bookmark? Yep. That'll do. Have to come back to that one. You'd think it'd be here in the list here. No. Okay, so you had another link there for us to look at. What was it? Africa.
Yeah.
Africa. Don't see it. It should be above mine. Hey Bobby, how's it going? You've been blocking and reported in the weirdos, but YouTube lets the weirdos play. I'm not too sure what I mean by weirdos. Are they porno, kiddie porn? All such weirdos. There's a lot of weirdos online, that's for sure. I agree with you. BitChute's a lot harder too. They can post galore there and make mayhem. Say all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think actually Peter Davenport was behind Newfork, you know.
Right. I thought you were posting a link to the Africa one, and we're finished off.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We're meant to be finishing.
We'll
I thought you had it on the side. I was looking for it.
I think I did post it, but I'll do it again now.
I didn't see it. Haters will be haters, they say. You know. All you can do is keep reporting it. Use the little flag up in the corner. I did it on BitChute, you know, spam, or if you say the hate speech or whatever. There's sort of a lot of crazy people, that's for sure. And I can't even repeat some of the stuff that I read in other comments. They're that bad. Yeah, and of course YouTube won't even give me my monetization still after 3 months review, and yet they can give idiots like Goofon, and he's creaming in the money on the side thing for doing what exactly, I don't know. Making people laugh at him, maybe. So what do we got here? South Africa, 1965. That might be just before you were born, Rob.
Yes, before.
Where's the speech thing gone?
1965. South African constables observes object on highway.
Okay, I think I may. Is this one where it melted the asphalt? Is that the one, or is that another one we're taking off?
Yeah, you got it.
There we go. It might be the same one. See, I'm not so stupid. Now we got the full report. We'll just read out that bit first then.
Date, September 16th, 1965. Sighting time, after midnight day night. Night location, Pretoria, South Africa. Urban or rural, rural Heineck classification. NL, nocturnal light, point or extended luminous source observed at night. Duration, seconds. No. Of object, S. 1 size of object, S. 30 feet in diameter. Distance to object, S. Shape of object, S. Disc color of object, S. Copper. Number of witnesses, multiple source, Associated Press, Johannesburg, S. Africa, Sept.17, 1965. Summary description, On the night of September 16th to Pretoria, S. Africa, constables came upon a disc-shaped object resting on the highway. The headlights of their police van illuminated the copper-colored object, which appeared to be about 30 feet in diameter. On top of the UFO was a small dome. In seconds, the UFO suddenly lifted off the road, emitting tongues of flame.
Okay. So this is another one with...
Don't use the reader to do the top stuff, you know, Paul. I can do that quite easily because it makes the right pixie of it.
That's because it had that's because it had S and brackets and it was reading out the S.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't work. It just won't work on that kind of text, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway. We're moving on from there anyway, so.
Sure, yeah.
During an extensive wave of sightings in 1965, police officers in Exeter, NH and Damon, Texas both had close-range encounters with UFOs, structured objects with body lights on September 3rd. On the night of September 16th to Pretoria, S. Africa, constables came upon a disc-shaped object resting on the Pretoria BRONKHORSDSPRUIT highway. The headlights of their police van illuminated the copper-colored object, which appeared to be about 30 feet in diameter. On top of the UFO was a small dome. Constables John Lockham and Coosty Clerk had been patrolling the highway just after midnight when they suddenly drove up on the object. In seconds, the UFO suddenly lifted off the road, emitting tongues of flame from two tubes or channels on the underside. Its liftoff was quicker than anything I have ever seen, Constable Lockham reported later. Flames from the macadam, tar and gravel road surface shot up 3 feet in the air as the UFO departed, blazing long after it was out of sight. Later investigation showed that part of the road was caved in, evidently from the heavy weight, and gravel had been separated from the tar in a severely burned area about 6 feet in diameter. Constable Lockham drew a sketch of the UFO with the aid of a staff artist of the newspaper Der Vaderland. The district commandant of Pretoria North, Lieutenant Colonel J.B. Britz, told the newspaper that the event was considered as being of a highly secret nature and an inquiry is being conducted in top circles. Samples of the damaged road surface were analyzed by a leading scientific agency in South Africa. NICAP has been unable to obtain copies of the analysis reports.
Not the kneecap. NICAP.
Kneecap, Jesus.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was an IIV popular way of intimidation.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting case, though.
We'll read out
Flag disc on highway, Pretoria, South Africa, September 16, 1965. Features: vehicle encounter, confrontation, police witnesses, landing, physical traces, official secrecy. Constables John Lockham and Coosty Clerk were patrolling on the Pretoria BRONKHORSDSPRUIT highway just after midnight when their police van headlights suddenly illuminated a domed, disc-shaped object sitting on the road. The UFO was copper-colored and about 30 feet in diameter. In seconds, the object lifted off the road, emitting tongues of flame from two tubes or channels on the underside. Its liftoff was quicker than anything I have ever seen,
very strange
Constable Lockham said. Flames from the macadam road surface shot up in the air about 3 feet as the UFO departed, blazing long after it was out of sight. Later investigation showed that part of the road was caved in as if from a heavy weight, and gravel had been separated from the tar in a severely burned area about 6 feet in diameter. Lieutenant Colonel J.B. Britz, District Commandant of Pretoria North, told the newspaper that the incident was considered as being of a highly secret nature and an inquiry is being conducted in top circles. Samples of the road surface were taken for analysis by a leading scientific agency, whose report has never been made public.
So
okay.
It sort of repeated itself quite a bit on that page. Anyway.
Yeah. But look, hello. We've got the same thing now. We've got evidence of
but
a few thousand tons or what have you. There's weight on the road. There's weight there. There's compression there. That's clear. There's also evidence of high temperatures.
Yeah.
And this is repeated over and over again.
You know, it sounds very
yeah,
it sounds familiar to that Betty Cash one where it had flames coming out underneath, and it sort of melted their car and stuff. Could it be like one of these fusion reactors that the military are experimenting with, and it come down from space level, and they lost control of it there? You can't
in South Africa.
Yeah, in South Africa. From America, because it's next door, isn't it? So to America, or Russia, you know, it's very close to Russia. Could they be mucking around with a fusion thing? Again, it goes to that Delphos Pass incident where they claimed it possibly was an experimental fusion rocket.
Do you know what? Oh, yeah. Sometimes, you know, Occam's razor, it just suggests, forget about all that crap and trying to put a square peg into a round hole. It's aliens.
With rockets, I don't think so. The technology.
With rockets, you don't know it was a rocket, Paul. It took off at an unbelievable speed. It was gone in a second. A rocket doesn't do that.
Yeah, but if you put a big enough engine on anything like that.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
So to do with energy, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. You're right. Yeah, definitely. You're always right. So, there we go. There we go.
So, yeah, to me it doesn't sound like a typical UFO.
And Lord Skinner, the guy who never been to a site of a UFO landing in his life, has never spoke firsthand to any of the witnesses, and explain every single sighting away.
No, just the ones with the rocket engines. I reckon that because why wouldn't why wouldn't the government come clean on it? Because it's maybe a fission reaction, not a fusion one that they had going, and of course they don't know people. They're experimenting with bloody radioactive machines over top of their cities, right?
Because all these scientists, you know, they couldn't explain it away. But you know, there we go. It's cool.
Well, I don't know if I don't know where you get that from. You only get it from some papers you read online, right? So,
yeah.
So, what does people on the side reckon? Does UFOs with rocket engines really sound like alien technology to you?
Listen, if it's chemical,
but it's not chemical. As we found out, the fission ones they're working on with actually carbon fiber.
There must be some kind of propulsion
that's
going on. Yeah.
Of course, there's propulsion, energy. Yeah.
I mean, look, in 1952, there was craft that was seen on radar that were going at a Mach 50. Okay. So that's 70 years they've kept that behind closed doors.
Especially if it's radioactive. If yes, they would keep it under strict secrecy. Because
okay, so what for? So you just found something, that can just
what for? And they don't want people to know they're experimenting with dodgy stuff so close to.
So you're gonna so you spend all that money on inventing a new technology, and then what do you want to do?
Well, obviously it was designed to run.
You want to hide it under the bed, Paul? Do you want to hide it under the bed? So you know all that money.
No. They would have squashed it because back then, 1952, were they only just discovering about radiation then, and the effects of radiation, whether it can be controlled. So yeah.
Okay, so they're still playing about with it, and it's not quite perfected yet, so they can't tell us.
No. It's probably they realised it was so dangerous that they had to squash it being experimented with. And
you know, you guys, that can't accept there's a possibility that there's aliens visiting this planet, which to me
No. I didn't say that. I said these particular
blatantly
cases with the rocket engines.
blatantly obvious. You can find any way.
Hang on. You just heard me a couple of
there.
hours ago talking about the melted car. It was definitely not a deer hit. And now you're saying that I believe everything to write it off as explainable. It's not the case. It's just saying these ones with the rocket engines sound like human technology.
No, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. We finally agree.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all we want.
It just disappeared too quick to be, according to the witness statement.
Yeah.
But of course, you have to,
well, yeah, okay. I'll give in there. It may be an alien technology that's not advanced as the other ones that have been come visiting.
Yes,
they might be in the Middle Ages of anti-gravity and fusion engines or whatever, and have come visiting. It's a possibility.
Yeah, maybe, Paul. Yeah, just 200 years ahead of us. Look how far we've come in the last 200 years.
Yeah, there might be. Yeah, and the other ones that now we're getting using even more exotic technology, which doesn't need the fusion engines, but have actually figured out. Well, not anti-gravity, but fast enough engines to push them through space and to make themselves buoyant like air, so they're like light balloons just floating around.
Yeah.
Using what I've talked about in the past about Tesla radiation and all that technology. But yeah, I will concede that that's possible that the different aliens are coming visiting this at different technology levels. But certainly to travel great space, you would need some sort of fusion, fission, nuclear reaction, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but it could also be dimensions. It doesn't have to be traveling from deep space. I mean, there's a problem with deep space travel.
Yes, it could be a multi-universe.
Our current understanding of physics. But 20th century physics will look nothing like 21st century physics will look nothing like 22nd century physics, and there's also going to be a 30th century physics, which could look at Copernicus and Galileo and Bruno. God's sakes, come on! How many times has science been bang wrong? All over the place.
Well, all our technology has been in the last 150 years, so if aliens are all different advances in their life.
There was a time when scientists said powered flight was impossible. What a joke that was. And that was cutting edge science at the time, Paul.
2,000 years ago.
And it was and that was only 2 weeks before the Wright brothers' first flight. And the same scientists turned around and say, "Well, they'll never move people from one country to another."
Yeah, I think they mostly it was discovered by accident again. They sort of modelled the wings on a
No, Paul. This is not the point. This is the ignorance of science I'm talking about.
Never say can never.
Never say never.
Well, you know me. I don't take conventional science view at all. I'm always questioning everything. But you calling me a debunker and trying to explain everything off, and all the other scientists don't see what I see. Well, obviously they might have done. It just hasn't been written down on the web. But anyway, you need someone out me like that to throw these curveballs at you, else you would believe in everything, right from angels to demons. Otherwise, so you want to carry on with another case, or should we wrap it up there?
It's Paul. It's entirely up to you.
What's the time now? It's only 1:30, but it feels like it's like 6 p.m. to me because it's been like from yesterday to now. But everything's been running sweet today, even with the new clicker thing. It's all working perfectly fine today.
Oh, I tell you what, hey mate, we'll have to do this last one.
All right,
Because
you got another one?
Yeah, this is a crazy one. This, I love this case.
Mhm.
I'll get it to you now.
And we've got the kiwi sapping the nana.
It's actually quite a funny case as well. What the hell are you doing now while I was posting that link, Paul?
I was playing the laser kiwi just to make sure it was working still, and everything's perfect today.
As long as you're not being shooting at me.
No, not shooting at me. It's all working great. I'm quite pleased with that code. I got to do a lot more to it though.
Yeah, it looks good, mate. I was having a good laugh last night. Dave,
the machine gun. I sure want to get out the machine gun and shoot you today though.
You did?
No, I mean today. I did it yesterday, but today you could have done with a machine gun. What did your mates think of it? Were they killing themselves laughing?
Yeah, they were drunk as skunks and thought it was well funny, weren't they?
Yeah, they would have loved it. They probably would have liked to go at it as themselves, would they? I suppose. And you can actually download it, by the way, and long as you run it on a single screen, it will work all right.
Yeah.
It's called Stress Relief version 2, and it does run on Windows still. Although it's a bit doggy for 2 screens. You can't do 2 screens. But I managed to frig it somehow to get it working. So yeah, and we got another one here. Robert.
Yeah, this is the last one. It's a funny one.
Yeah. The thing is, you got to have a sense of humour in this game. Else you just go nuts. YouTube? No, let's switch into History Channel. Okay, do we need to shrink it down a bit? Oh, it's really shrunk down. Oh, what's this? It looks like drugs.
No, you need to.
What's happening there?
Go down to the actual case.
It's talking about evolution.
What?
You sure you gave me the right link? Thomas Edison. Where's the thing that you want?
What the hell?
Oh, that's what's come up. Let me just go back just to make sure. I reckon it must have had a click link. Oh, here we go. The Scoutmaster had a run review. Oh, this was on Project Blue Book, was it? The series. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, so you want us to read out this one? See how much.
Yeah, go. Don't do too much at once.
Okay, I don't know how much that is, but we'll see how we go.
On a humid August night in 1952, Scoutmaster D's Sonny Vergers emerged burned and barely coherent from a dense palmetto grove in the South Florida Everglades. He claimed he had encountered an unidentified flying object that discharged a fireball, which left him cinched and barely able to see. Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, chief UFO investigator for the U.S. Air Force, would later label the event the best hoax in UFO history. But the Vergers incident remains one of the most intriguing cases from Project Blue Book. The Air Force has now declassified investigations into UFOs because it wasn't just a sighting incident, but one involving a purported attack. To this day, it's still unsolved. Cue appropriately spooky X-Files music. A series of investigations conducted by the U.S. Air Force between 1952 and 1969. Project Blue Book was tasked with scientifically analyzing UFO-related incidents to determine whether they were a threat to national security. Some say the project was commissioned to find rational explanations for these mysterious phenomena, to help quell a growing Cold War public hysteria over unidentified objects in the sky. UFO fever reached such intensity that in April 1952, 4 months before the Tsvergers incident, Life magazine published a story called "Have We Visitors from Space?"
So, Rupert looked into this and was absolutely convinced of the case at first, and that was his book there. The reports on unidentified flying objects.
Right.
And I think the subtitle was an assessment of the situation. And this is one of the most baffling cases ever. Go on.
You want us to read out that?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's at the end anyway.
What?
Oh no, there's another chunk there. It's just got a big picture that's missing.
Pulling over to inspect a bright flash of light, as Ruppelt would later chronicle in his 1956 book The Report on Unidentified Flying Objects. On the evening of August 19, 1952, hardware store clerk and Scoutmaster Tsvergers, 30, was driving a group of Boy Scouts home when he saw a bright light flash over Military Trail near West Palm Beach, Florida. Thinking it may be a downed plane or car accident, Tsvergers pulled onto the shoulder of the highway so he could take a closer look. Armed with a machete and flashlights, he entered the palmetto grove near where he saw the lights, leaving the 3 boys in the vehicle with instructions to alert the residents of a nearby farmhouse if he did not return in 15 minutes. According to the declassified documents, after about 4 minutes of hacking through the bush, Tsvergers entered a clearing in the grove. The first thing he described was an acute, nauseating smell and then the feeling of somebody or something watching him. He next experienced a sensation of oven-like heat coming from above. Looking up, Tsvergers said he could not see any stars as he was standing beneath a hovering object. The object was circular, Tsvergers recounted, dull black, with no seams, about 30 feet in diameter with a height of 10 feet, a convex dome atop it and the bottom edge lit with a phosphorescent glow.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, at this point,
yeah.
The pupils he had in the back, little scouts, didn't actually see anything that he seen. Then he went off into the woods to investigate, but then they seen, when they were looking for him to come back, then he actually did see some lights. I think they were red in colour.
Yeah, we talked about orb lights over Mount Adams yesterday. Sounds very similar in the way, what they're talking about here.
Those just a bit of a dodgy background.
Yeah. Again, I suppose it's not black and white, but somewhere in the middle, a grey area, so to speak. So let's read out the next bit then.
Enveloped by a red mist, what happened next is what separates Tsvergers' encounter from thousands of other UFO sightings. As he slowly moved backward, he recalled, he heard a noise like metal against metal, like a hatch opening, after which a red, flare-like light came from the side of the object and slowly moved toward him. Tsvergers constantly referred to it as a ship when recounting the tale to the authorities. As he placed his hands over his face, fists closed, hand over each eye, the red ball of light grew into a red mist, engulfing him. It was then, he recounted, that he lost consciousness. When he awoke, Tsvergers said, he was leaning against a tree, but could not see properly as his eyes burned. Scrambling back through the palmettos, his eyesight slowly returning to normal, he burst, incoherent, out onto the highway, where he was met by the boys and local authorities. I've never seen anyone as terrified as he was. The 3 scouts, Bobby Ruffing, 12, David Rowan, 11, and Chuck Stevens, 10, remained in the car after Tsvergers entered the grove. Later, In recounting what he witnessed to authorities, Ruffing said he initially saw a semicircle of white lights descending into the trees. Ruffing also recounted seeing a red light through the brush, as did Rowan and Stevens, who told of also seeing Zverger's flashlight through the trees before going dark. That's when the scouts headed to the nearby farmhouse for help. A Palm Beach County deputy and Lake Worth constable responded to the farmer's call for assistance. Returning to the site of the abandoned vehicle almost an hour after Zverger's first said he saw the lights, the officers and scouts witnessed the scoutmaster emerge from the palmettos, waving his machete and babbling incoherently. In all my 19 years of law enforcement work, I've never seen anyone as terrified as he was, the deputy is recorded as saying in Ruppelt's investigation.
Okay, stop it there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's one thing that I would say is pretty much impossible to fake, and that's pure terror.
Mm-hmm. And those red ball lights sound very similar to other orb lights that we've heard over forests. You remember that expedition Bigfoot? They had 3 lights in the sky, not that too far above the tree line, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Also, Rendlesham.
Yeah. And then you got Mount Adams ones that happen as well.
And I tell you what, if you look through the archives of reports, you'll find that there's plenty more.
Why 3 red lights though? Although that guy called, was that Bledsoe? All talked about red lights in the sky.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's a BSer myself. I think there could have been a genuine experience with Bledsoe, and he's just embellished it, or it could have been land flares lit off, which are red in the sky, and parachute flares.
Possibly, and I'm not sure about that one, Paul.
But was it 3? Was it 3 or 4 lights on his one? I can't remember now.
It's not really that bothers me about the 3 or 4 lights or whatever colour the lights were. It's just that he's teamed up with some few dodgy people, and he's keeping some part of the case back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know what I mean. If he wants to get his own case out, then.
No, I just don't like the guy. Plus,
no, do I.
And I reached out to him. I said, "Why don't you come on the Out There channel and tell us the story, and then we'll go over it." They didn't bother replying, or haven't heard from him. So a lot of people are scared of me because we do ask the hard questions. We just don't follow along like everybody else does. Just say and then just ask another question. They don't ask the hard questions like Dolan did thing. It was absolutely boring.
It was boring as hell because, I mean, fair play to Martin Willis when he had that guy on that time and he was talking a load of shit. He just cut him off.
Yeah. But he kept him on quite a long time, really, before he kicked him off. But yeah,
well, he had to be sure first.
The guy was total paranoid, and when I looked at his video, it's just a laugh. That's the one that I said were possibly birds flying in the sky in formation, gangster wind, because he said there couldn't be balloons. So we looked at it. I looked at it anyway. But you're talking about where he's sitting in the calf, Metcalf or something like that, McDonald's, when he saw it. And then he talked about that there was a car following him around and trying to tell him to stop telling the story and all this sort of rubbish, Anyway, back to it.
Back at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, Zverger's and the boys underwent questioning. Officers noted that the hair on Zverger's forearms was singed and the skin burned. They also noted 3 tiny burn holes in the bill of the Scoutmaster's cap. Following procedure, the local authorities contacted relevant agencies with the incident report, which eventually made its way to Blue Book Chief Ruppelt. Hill later described the case as one of the weirdest UFO reports that I came up against.
Okay.
So, at this stage, it's highly unusual. Edward Rupert was the guy in charge of Blue Book at the time who investigated the case. He was the guy who he had a heart attack at 35, didn't he? Put it down. So, and then he had another one at 37, which was fatal. But he wrote a book, which you've just seen. So he was the investigator. When he dug into it, he found that this guy's background wasn't as solid as it first appeared. I think now, if I recall properly, he was in the Marines, and he was dishonorably discharged from that position because he stole a car. It was pretty much something like that. So he had a little bit of a dodgy background, but Rupert at the end came to the conclusion, my God, this could be the only time that this guy may have actually told the truth, because you cry wolf and the people aren't going to listen, are they, Paul?
No.
You keep crying wolf. But
like a Tyler.
What they were doing, that they tried every single possible way they could of trying to create a hoax that could create the same situation that they found at the scene, and just could not come up with one. And that's one thing that's missing from this article. It's Rupert's final opinion on the case, and that was, I think, for once, this gang was telling the truth. Oh well, let's go on.
The mystery of the cinched grass arriving in Florida soon after the encounter, Ruppelt and his team began their investigation, obtaining statements from all parties involved and taking grass and soil specimens from the clearing in which Zvergers said the encounter took place. The latter evidence would prove to be the most inexplicable piece of the encounter puzzle. The fact that they documented and took samples at all is lucky, and one of the most interesting aspects of this case, says Jeffrey Wilson, a private industry analyst who examines noteworthy ground phenomenon. As co-founder of the Independent Crop Circle Researchers Association, ICRA, Wilson investigates global circle phenomena. Though different to the crop circles he examines today, aspects of the Zvergers incident led him to further investigate.
Okay. Gracias.
Yeah, so it's grass specimens. So this is an trace evidence case, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's very well.
Still, how much spectral analysis and other stuff did they do on it, though? You know what I mean?
Well, put it this way. I mean, I hope you realise, before you read that out now, I hope you realise that Blue Book was conducted from Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they had Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where they had the biggest scientific lab in the world.
Yeah.
Now, although Blue Book was a microcosm, it wasn't this big kind of UFO investigation that some people think it was. They generally had head in it, like someone of like lieutenant status, not some 4 or 5 star general or anything else. And they had a few people on the ground that would go out and investigate. Most of the interviews are done through phone call. Only quite rare that they actually go out to the scene and, like an Earl Grey is doing, or a Ted Phillips is doing, that actually go to the scene. And but that did happen. Hynek did go out to, but remember, Hynek now was only consultant. He wasn't there full time.
Right.
So you're only talking about maybe 10 to 20 people in an office. So Blue Book wasn't that big, but the facilities for scientific analysis was there.
Government should have the equipment, shouldn't they? So.
Well, they did. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, multi-million-dollar budgets. Especially if it's related to anything they can weaponize. So anyway, let's just carry on.
Yeah, but before you hit that play button there, another thing that Hynek said, a lot of things go into Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, but nothing ever comes out. Yeah, that's Hynek's words.
Okay, carry on.
As the grass specimens were being tested, Zverger's character would come under intense scrutiny, with authorities noting his other than honorable discharge from the U.S. Marines due to theft of the car, and what Florida locals would describe as his ability to tell tall tales. But when Ruppelt first interviewed Zvergers, he described the Scoutmaster as likable, willing to cooperate in displaying the immediate impression he was telling the truth. Taking into account the background checks on Zvergers, along with a return visit to the encounter site where he determined the Boy Scouts could not have witnessed Zvergers and the mysterious red light in the grove due to their distance and denseness of the foliage, Ruppelt would later call the entire event a hoax. Zvergers was painted as an opportunist and media-hungry conman who sold his story to the American weekly newspaper the following year.
Okay.
Though Ruppelt would come to believe the tale was fabricated, and he and his team would come up with dozens of ways the event could have been staged, they never managed to prove the incident was, in fact, a hoax. Their biggest stumbling block, the grass samples taken at the site. After samples from the Florida clearing were sent to Battelle Memorial Institute under contract with the USAFE to provide scientific support to Project Blue Book, agronomists made some interesting findings. Though the soil remained consistent, the root structure of the plants in question were charred black, and the lower leaves had deteriorated as if by heat. The only way the lab could come close to duplicating the effect was to place live clumps of grass in a pan of sandy soil and heat it to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Though Wilson has witnessed singed grass in his investigations into ground phenomenon, it has always been an occurrence above the soil, never the roots, as the lab findings in the Zvergers case indicate. Wilson says this is the only recorded example of such findings of which he is aware.
Okay. Just carry on.
Includes it, you know, Paul.
With those associated with the case no longer able to comment or add context, Zvergers and Ruppelt have both since died. The case remains unexplained. But according to Wilson, something unusual happened to the guy, and the physical evidence backed him up. That's why I put the effort into checking this out. Why would you go to the trouble of faking something like this? He continued. Why, and how, would he stage that? It doesn't make any sense. Don't miss the return of Project Blue Book, Tuesday, January 21st at 10:09 C on History. By Colin Bertram. Fact check. We strive for accuracy and fairness. But if you see something that doesn't look right, click here to contact us. Sign up for more history. Twice a week we compile our most fascinating features and deliver them straight to you. Sign up related content: how the U.S. Air Force investigated UFOs during the Cold War. Okay.
I'm not sure what it selected there, but it selected something else, folks. But,
yeah, I don't know what you're about.
What were we going to say? So they're talking about the heat and not the sand, 300 degrees. The only way you could do that was with a portable blowtorch, right? With the gas thing that you could make, you could use for welding. I think would be able to do that, and they would have had it back then as well. Portable natural gas heater.
Yeah, but don't you see, the best minds in the land tried to replicate how we hoaxed it, and then they couldn't do it.
Doesn't mean that they are the cream of the crop. Just that they tried to replicate it means that they maybe look. You got to remember, a lot of scientists are not able to think outside the box. That's their downfall, and they're not. A lot of them are no good for teaching either. They're terrible teachers. The scientists, they like to repeat.
I go with that.
They like
And this
to
goes
do experiments and repeat them over and over again to see if the same consistency in results, you know. So yeah, Robert's off. I thought we were going to wrap up now though. What are we getting up to? 3 hours 40. It's 2 p.m. here. So I was going to sort of wrap up the general chat, but he wants to go to the toilet. So what have we got on the side here? Body Cash. Is that the musician guy that plays guitar? Weirdo ruined a lot of good channels. I don't know what good channels you mean though. CIA trolls, perhaps, huh? Yeah, you get a lot of bad people down on the side chat. But we got some good mods there. Keep an eye on it in the comments. They're easy to get rid of. But you got to spend the time going through it. If you're a big channel, you probably don't spend the time going through all the comments. But there's no reason why you can't get helpers, comment moderators, as they got now on YouTube, to go through there and clean out all the garbage and block all the stupid people out there. I don't know. How old are these people that you're talking about, though? Are they more like below the age of 40? Generation Emmas? Or the new generation C's, or zombies? So, yeah. So, yeah, he's gone away. So, we should play the intermission.
You are listening to the Out There channel. You are listening to the Out There channel.
He's back already. I think he's diabetic. I need to update that timetable on that one. There's lots to do still. A lot of admin work after show. Okay. You got the back going. Okay, I'll just end it. I had my little intermission thing up. Cool, it's all working good. So really we come to the end of the stream anyway. I just want to sum up and wind it down. We're coming up to 4 hours, so yeah, I think we've done enough. Let's see, I think the stats are pretty good for today's show. I think we had two subs during it too. I don't know if that's
good.
I don't know if that's from watching us today or what, but they haven't jumped up on the playlist here.
Yeah, we don't care where they come from. God damn.
People that don't have their...
I don't really give a damn.
Yeah, the people that...
I don't give a flying yeti.
Yeah, the people that don't have their profile hidden will have their little alien darts up here because their name will pop up here, but a lot of people actually have the privacy set, so when they sub it doesn't sort of alert you, so to speak, but it will increase the sub count. But yeah, it's been a long time trying to get up to 222. Sort of went back there for a while, back in subs, so I don't know what was going on there. But yeah, there was a few haters lately.
I don't think... I mean, it's not the be all and end all. I mean, the be all and end all is this.
Yeah.
Yeah. UFO information. Getting it out as best we can. Never ever telling lies to get subs and money, like a Tyler. Or I'm not going to mention several others that do it, and some of them mainstream. I'll reiterate on this now. The top guys in ufology, that nucleus at the top, that you think are the main guys, are not the main guys. Those are the guys that are selling you stuff. That snake model. You know, that's just a fact, unfortunately. But then, you know, just outside of that nucleus, you get guys that don't really want to make money out of it.
Snake oil. Where's the terminology come from?
Well, selling you something that's not going to work.
A substance with no real medical value. I just wonder where the terminology comes from. I wouldn't be surprised if you could get oil from snake skin or something.
Snake oil is just like a cure for diseases that doesn't actually doesn't work. But I mean, bottom line with us is we may make mistakes on certain cases and what have you, but as long as we're trying to bang it out as best we can, without telling fibbies and porcupines.
Snake oil deceptive marketing. Wow.
Yes, deceptive marketing. Yeah, happens all the time in ufology.
Mm.
And as I say, the charlatans completely outnumber the guys that are trying to tell you the truth. We maybe don't have the best presentation in the world. Yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, I don't know. Quackery.
All we can do is tell the truth. And, if Paul suddenly turned the corner and said, oh, right, look, I'm going to sell this, I'm going to sell that, I'm going to get more subs that way. And I thought it was dishonest. Well, I wouldn't be with Paul anymore. And I'm sure that would work the other way as well. If I said, do this, do that, this would be clickbait. We'll get more views. I don't think Paul would have anything to do with me.
Very true. But yeah, I can't see you going that way though.
Hell no.
If anything,
honest to God, those charlatans out there.
Yeah.
You can go after them as long as you want.
Yeah.
I tell you, don't.
The one that always stuck in my head was Contact in the Desert crowd. That's just a...
Oh, bullshit in the desert, you mean?
Yeah. When that Reverend Pollock put up an image claiming it was UFOs over Sedona, and we'd done that together, me and John, it's just hilarious. So we enhanced it. We could see there were like high mask LED lights in the forest on the trails in the area there. Yeah, I said go back there in the daytime and actually do some more video. And we never heard back from him since. Yeah, they're all bloody charlatans, man. He's the one that goes and sells. He's a guy with a reverend in the name trying to sell crystals and healing. Yeah, he said to me he would send his brain waves to me and heal my back, and it never happened. But we certainly got some alien visitors, maybe, that stuck a needle in my back. That may be causing the pain in the first place, who knows? But anyway, I've talked about that in previous lives. Anyway, we better wrap up here unless you've got anything else to say.
No, same time next week.
Yeah, although we've got daylight savings coming up, which is going to mess everything up. So I'm not sure.
No, mine will change next coming weekend, I think. It's the last weekend in the month.
Yeah, so you're moving forward an hour, so that means you'd have to be on 9 p.m.
But what I can do, Paul, I can always I can join at maybe 11 p.m. my time.
Ooh.
Or 10.
I don't know. What's people on the side chat reckon? Push it forward an hour.
Or sleeping time, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. I think
so that should be. I don't know. Oh, how's that going to be for the American guys, because they're our main audience.
I would actually push it back because more people go to bed early. But anyway, I've got a daylight saving change in April, I think it is, and it goes back an hour. So yeah. It's all going to stuff up my head. Working out all the time zones in daylight saving. Speaking of which, I've actually got this add-on here, so we can actually bring up world clocks. There you go. Look at that. We're talking about working out what the time is at different locations. So Texas is currently 8 p.m. New York is 9 p.m. California is 6 p.m. So this is when everybody should be watching UFO stuff anyway. But they're probably watching stuff on TV. What's out today? Outlander, Homeland, and all that sort of stuff. Popular shows. Wells, it's now 1 a.m. Is that correct? Yeah, that would be right, wouldn't it? China, 9 a.m. So they're just getting up really. Brisbane, 11 a.m. Way behind us because it's 2 p.m. here. Russia, 4 a.m. So they're still in the dark there a wee bit. But yeah, that's quite good. And you can click on that and you can separate it out. Just like that. And have it on your desktop. Quite handy. I know I was talking to Susan that I should look up something like that. But now we can actually do it. But yeah, to work out all the times, just do your head in. To work out the best times for everybody. Pushing it forward for America, I think it might make it too late. And also for UK. It's just that I might have to get up, get used to getting up at 8. It'll be like 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or whatever it'll turn out to be. 9 a.m. I get up today, and have to be 8 a.m. when the daylight savings works. So it'll feel like 8 a.m. for quite a while because it takes a while for your body to adjust. But anyway, I'm just going to wind up now. My mouth's getting dry again. And just going to switch to the end credit screen, and it's been good. Good stream today, I think. I think the average viewing time on the main panel says 22, so it's always going to be better once it corrects all the data, I think. Good night, everybody. Should be winding down with the music now, hopefully.
Night, guys. Take care. Problem here at the end.
Yeah, there's the credit down at the moment, Rob. I'll let you know when it's finished.
Yeah, no probs.
There's a wee bit of lag, as you know. Someone's just tuned in and we're finishing up. You have to wait till it's processed and watch it all. Sorry about that. I do broadcast it when it's starting. I know some people do work. Good night. Keep hitting the wrong button. I'll come back to that. It's still coming up.